Clearing your cookies and cache is easy. All you need to do is click on the three dots, scroll down and click on Settings. On the left, you're going to look for Privacy and Security. Click on that and then clear your browsing data. Once you open it, you can just click on your cookies and cache, then clear.
Here's a tiny tech tip for your Google Slides. You can now easily insert GIFs into your presentation. Go to Insert, Images, and you'll see that new feature. On the right-hand side, you can search for your terms and look at all the fun options you have to place into your presentations. Have fun GIFing!
Welcome to EdTech Live. We are happy that you are here. I'm Ryan, and this is Tamara.
We'd like to take a moment to welcome you to today's event and give you a little information about what to expect.
New sessions start each hour, and you can stay for the whole event or just watch the sessions that you're interested in seeing. There is a 10 to 15 minute break between each session where you can enter your attendance credit or take care of personal needs. During the live event, you also have 2 sessions to choose from each hour. After the live event, you can watch any of the other sessions on your own time.
During each session, the host will give you a link and a secret code to jot down. This will be the link that you use to access the attendance forms, and you will enter the code into the form. You can keep this form open throughout the event in a separate tab because you'll have to do this for each session. You can still earn attendance credit even if you're watching after the live event. However, you must submit by midnight tomorrow.
Within an hour of submitting your attendance, you should be receiving a response receipt. If you do not receive this email, please resubmit the attendance form and double check to ensure that your email is typed correctly.
We, along with the entire EdTech team, would like to thank you for joining us today and enjoy your session. It will be starting soon.
love EdTech Live because it's a great way to learn new things all in the comfort of your own home.
Hi, let's learn a tiny tech tip on how to increase and decrease the size of a font or image on a page. The shortcut to do this is simply click on Ctrl++ to increase the size, or you can do Ctrl- to decrease the size. Now there's a quick tip too on how to resume back to your normal page. There's a shortcut. You simply click Ctrl and 0 and you are right back at 100%. So there's your tiny tech tip on how to increase or decrease the size of a font or image on a page.
If you don't have a monitor and you would like to split your screen, the steps are simple. Simply click the Windows button and the left and right arrow on your keyboard. You can also go up and down if you so choose. I'm going to do that now. I can repeat the process on the other window and I've split my screen. Sometimes you get the option to be able to choose. I've split my screen to the right and now I need to tell them what I would like to put on the left. Those are the steps of splitting your screen on a Windows device. Welcome to EdTech Live. We are happy that you are here today. I am Tamara, and this is Ryan.
We would like to take a moment to welcome you to today's sessions and give you a little information about what to expect.
New sessions start every hour, and you can stay for the whole event or just watch the sessions you're interested in seeing. There is a 10 to 15 minute break between each session where you can enter your attendance credit or take care of your personal needs. During the live event, you have 2 sessions to choose from for each hour. After the live event, you can watch any of the other sessions on your own time.
During each session, the host will give you a link and a secret code to jot down. This will be the link you use to access the attendance forms, and you will enter the code into the form. You can keep this form open throughout the event in a separate tab because you will do this for each session. You can still earn attendance credit if you are watching after the live event. However, you must submit by midnight tomorrow.
Within an hour of submitting, you should receive a response receipt. If you do not receive this email, please resubmit the attendance form and double check to make sure your email address is typed correctly.
We, along with our whole EdTech team, thank you again for being here today and enjoy your session. It will be starting soon.
My favorite thing about EdTech Live is being in your PJs. I have a master's degree in educational technology, but I still attend every session. I really enjoy it and I love the presenters.
Clearing your cookies and cache is easy. All you need to do is click on the 3 dots, scroll down and click on Settings. On the left, you're going to look for privacy and security. Click on that and then clear your browsing data. Once you open it, you can just
Here's a tiny tech tip for your Google Slides. You can now easily insert GIFs into your presentation. Go to Insert, Images, and you'll see that new feature. On the right-hand side, you can search for your terms and look at all the fun options you have to place into your presentations. Have fun GIFing!
Welcome to EdTech Live. We are happy that you are here. I'm Ryan, and this is Tamara.
We'd like to take a moment to welcome you to today's event and give you a little information about what to expect.
New sessions start each hour, and you can stay for the whole event or just watch the sessions that you're interested in seeing. There is a 10 to 15 minute break between each session where you can enter your attendance credit or take care of personal needs. During the live event, you also have 2 sessions to choose from each hour. After the live event, you can watch any of the other sessions on your own time.
During each session, the host will give you a link and a secret code to jot down. This will be the link that you use to access the attendance form, and you will enter the code into the form. You can keep this form open throughout the event in a separate tab because you'll have to do this for each session. You can still earn attendance credit even if you're watching after the live event. However, you must submit by midnight tomorrow.
Within an hour of submitting your attendance, you should be receiving a response receipt. If you do not receive this email, please resubmit the attendance form and double check to ensure that your email is typed correctly.
We, along with the entire EdTech team, would like to thank you for joining us today and enjoy your session. It will be starting soon.
I love EdTech Live because it's a great way to learn new things all in the comfort of your own home.
Hi, let's learn a tiny tech tip on how to increase and decrease the size of a font or image on a page. The shortcut to do this is simply click on Ctrl++ to increase the size, or you can do Ctrl- to decrease the size. Now there's a quick tip too on how to resume back to your normal page. There's a shortcut. You simply click Ctrl and 0 and you are right back at 100%. So there's your tiny tech tip on how to increase or decrease the size of a font or image on a page.
If you don't have a monitor and you would like to split your screen, the steps are simple. Simply click the Windows button and the left and right arrow on your keyboard. You can also go up and down if you so choose. I'm going to do that now. I can repeat the process on the other window and have split my screen. Sometimes you get the option to be able to choose. I've split my screen to the right and now I need to tell them what I would like to put on the left. Those are the steps of splitting your screen on a Windows device. Welcome to EdTech Live. We are happy that you are here today. I am Tamara, and this is Ryan.
We would like to take a moment to welcome you to today's sessions and give you a little information about what to expect.
New sessions start every hour, and you can stay for the whole event or just watch the sessions you're interested in seeing. There is a 10 to 15 minute break between each session where you can enter your attendance credit or take care of your personal needs. During the live event, you have 2 sessions to choose from for each hour. After the live event, you can watch any of the other sessions on your own time.
During each session, the host will give you a link and a secret code to jot down. This will be the link you use to access the attendance forms, and you will enter the code into the form. You can keep this form open throughout the event in a separate tab because you will do this for each session. You can still earn attendance credit if you are watching after the live event. However, you must submit by midnight tomorrow.
Within an hour of submitting, you should receive a response receipt. If you do not receive this email, please resubmit the attendance form and double check to make sure your email address is typed correctly.
We, along with our whole EdTech team, thank you again for being here today and enjoy your session. It will be starting soon.
My favorite thing about EdTech Live is PD in your PJs. I have a master's degree in educational technology, but I still attend every session. I really enjoy it and I love the presenters.
Clearing your cookies and cache is easy. All you need to do is click on the 3 dots, scroll down and click on Settings. On the left, you're going to look for privacy and security. Click on that and then clear your browsing data. Once you open it, you can just click on your cookies and cache, then clear.
Here's a tiny tech tip for your Google Slides. You can now easily insert GIFs into your presentation. Go to Insert, Images, and you'll see that new feature. On the right-hand side, you can search for your terms and look at all the fun options you have to place into your presentations. Have fun GIFing!
Welcome to EdTech Live. We are happy that you are here. I'm Ryan, and this is Tamara.
We'd like to take a moment to welcome you to today's event and give you a little information about what to expect.
New sessions start each hour, and you can stay for the whole event or just watch the sessions that you're interested in seeing. There is a 10 to 15 minute break between each session where you can enter your attendance credit or take care of personal needs. During the live event, you also have 2 sessions to choose from each hour. After the live event, you can watch any of the other sessions on your own time.
During each session, the host will give you a link and a secret code to jot down. This will be the link that you use to access the attendance forms, and you will enter the code into the form. You can keep this form open throughout the event in a separate tab because you'll have to do this for each session. You can still earn attendance credit even if you're watching after the live event. However, you must submit by midnight tomorrow.
Within an hour of submitting your attendance, you should be receiving a response receipt. If you do not receive this email, please resubmit the attendance form and double check to ensure that your email is typed correctly.
We, along with the entire EdTech team, would like to thank you for joining us today and enjoy your session. It will be starting soon.
love EdTech Live because it's a great way to learn new things all in the comfort of your own home.
Hi, let's learn a tiny tech tip on how to increase and decrease the size of a font or image on a page. The shortcut to do this is simply click on Ctrl++ to increase the size, or you can do Ctrl- to decrease the size. Now there's a quick tip too on how to resume back to your normal page. There's a shortcut. You simply click Ctrl and 0 and you are right back at 100%. So there's your tiny tech tip on how to increase or decrease the size of a font or image on a page.
If you don't have a monitor and you would like to split your screen, the steps are simple. Simply click the Windows button and the left and right arrow on your keyboard. You can also go up and down if you so choose. I'm going to do that now. I can repeat the process on the other window and I've split my screen. Sometimes you get the option to be able to choose. I've split my screen to the right and now I need to tell them what I would like to put on the left. Those are the steps of splitting your screen on a Windows device.
Good
Good
morning,
morning.
everybody. Woo! EdTech
Good
Live.
morning. Good morning. Saturday, 9 a.m. Excited to be here.
Yes, we're so excited that you have joined us today for EdTech Live. Shannon, I have to ask, because I've already
Yes.
had 2 cups of coffee.
I'm only on one.
I've moved on to water.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
but it was
good.
like, no, I need coffee. Coffee.
I know, right? That's same. I'm actually in Missouri right now visiting family. And so hopefully Missouri's internet is just as wonderful as Texas is. But I brought some warm weather up here, so I think they're thankful. They had snow last week. So, but yes, good to be here. And I think we're ready to get started. Is there anything we need to talk about before we get started? We want to share some information about how to view in YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me see. There's a really long lag between us and YouTube today, it seems like.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys kind of how to navigate YouTube while we are teaching y'all about Canva today and for the rest of the event. So here we are in YouTube. If you want to follow along with us, so if you want to have your screen and follow what we're doing, you're going to go to the settings wheel right here. You're going to, oh, where did it go, Shannon? It's not quality. Oh, hey, you can turn on annotations. Okay, you can pop this out to go picture in picture.
Yes, picture in picture. Where did it go? See, don't you just love it whenever technology changes things on us?
Right. Okay. So then here's another idea, y'all, because it's easy. Yeah. Look, there's Channel B. They have a cute little frog. You can make your one window smaller, and then you can drag the corner and resize. So you still see our beautiful faces and what we're doing, and you can follow along with us. Now, if you're joining us after the event, if you find that we're going too fast or too slow, again, after the event, let me go live. There we are. You can come here to the settings wheel. You can go to playback speed and you can either slow us down, because I know I talk fast, again, 2 cups of coffee, or if you want to bump us up, you can speed up the playback speed after the event is no longer live. And if you find that what just happened to me, I was back here for some reason, if you're not live, if you don't see this little red button right here, click on that and then you'll be back with us live. So that is
Awesome.
how you're going to manage YouTube during and after the live event. And we are really excited to talk about podcasting.
Yes, we are. All right. So let me share my screen now.
And can I just say, it's a little trippy looking over at YouTube and seeing like window and window and window. And yeah, it's just funny.
It is. I have the YouTube up on my phone. So we'll see how that goes as well.
Awesome. So another thing, y'all, I do have YouTube up and open on my spare screen. So if you have any questions during our presentation, please throw them in the YouTube chat and we'll be monitoring that during the presentation, and we can try to get to as many questions as we possibly can during the actual presentation.
Perfect. All right, let's get started. So we are here to talk about purposeful podcasting. My name is Shannon Vickers, and this is Ryan McLaughlin Davis. We are both with Sci-Fair's EdTech team as EdTech specialists. And we have a passion for podcasts. That's one of the things that had brought us together as friends, as well as coworkers. And so we are really excited to put this together for you all about how to elevate communication in your classroom. And we found a way to use Canva to do that. So we want to see where you are.
Yes.
With podcasting.
So we're going to do a waterfall. So in the YouTube chat, type 3 if you listen to podcasts regularly and you've used them in your classroom with students. Type a 2 if you listen to podcasts, but you haven't quite made the jump to having them in your classroom yet with kids. Or 1, what on earth is this thing called a podcast that you keep saying? And we're going to learn about it.
Love it.
Yes. So like Shannon was saying, while y'all are answering, Shannon and I have figured out that we have a serious love for podcasts and true crime podcasts specifically.
Yes.
There have been a few conversations where it's like, how could we start our own true crime podcast?
We've kind of toyed with that idea, for sure. And we think, are you being serious?
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know. Are you being serious? So we kind of go back and forth. But I know I love podcasts because it's something I can listen to in the car on the way to and from places, and learn about different topics. Sometimes true crime, sometimes educational, sometimes life, fun stuff. There's lots of different ones, but I know we bonded a lot on our love of podcasts. So it looks like we've got a lot of people that are like at a 2, like they listen to podcasts, but haven't used them in the classroom yet.
Yeah, I see that. I'm really excited to hopefully show you guys some ideas of how you can use them in your classroom with students.
Awesome. All right. You can keep those coming in too.
Yes.
So today, here are our learning intentions, our goals. So the benefits of podcasting, and we will talk about what a podcast is, what makes a good podcast, the benefits of podcasting with students, as well as learning how to make one using Canva. There are lots of other tools that you can use, but we wanted to try out using Canva because we felt like it might be easy to do in Canva. And it is pretty easy. It makes a pretty basic podcast, and you can make it as complicated as you want, but we're going to show you the easy way. And then give you some ideas on how to get started implementing with students.
Absolutely. So first, let's talk about why. Why should we use these with our students? 1, it gives students a huge opportunity to be creative. Those kids who are like the quiet creatives where they have things to say, you just haven't found the right avenue yet to get them talking. Maybe a podcast could help them. It also allows your quieter students to open up and work on a team with others while creating the podcast. And through that working with others, it creates that sense of community in your classroom because we're all working towards this one thing together. It's that common goal. Also, so there's a lot of research out there that says that students creating podcasts have improved language, speaking, and grammar knowledge because it's not just pressing record and talking. You actually have to write a script and practice and rehearse and then actually press record and start talking. So going through that whole process really has some amazing benefits for our students. And I know there are a couple more that Shannon's going to share.
Yes. All right. So, like she just said, they have to write a script. So it does give them an opportunity to practice writing. And a script isn't always necessary, I guess, depending on what type of podcast you're creating. But you definitely want to at least have an outline. So required to practice those writing skills, presentation skills. With a podcast, it is primarily audio, right? But you'll have some visual aspects to it, but those will be minimal. So, and then speaking academically, so they're finding those opportunities to use that academic language, excuse me, within their podcast and give some purpose behind using that academic language. And it really gets them thinking critically. So when they have to respond to questions or have that conversation with a classmate or possibly with an expert on a topic, it really has them thinking about how to engage their audience, how to put this out in a way that will really deliver the message that they want to deliver. So a lot of great thinking occurs in doing podcasts. I know it definitely did so for us when we created one together.
It did. We've created a podcast for our event. And while we were doing this, we were having these amazing conversations and it was like, oh, we should have recorded that.
I was like, that could have been our podcast right there. So then we tried to recreate it, which is a little, can be a little awkward. So, but hopefully we did an okay job. But yeah, sometimes it is just recording and then you're able to take the pieces that make sense and can be used. So take risks, right?
Exactly. Yes. Big risks. So we had a lot of twos in our YouTube chat with you listen to podcasts, but we haven't used them with kids yet. So we want to know, what is your favorite style of podcast? What topics do they cover? And what really do you listen to? What do you enjoy? So we've already shared that we like true crime, but we didn't really share like the style that the true crime podcasts that we listen to, they have. So the one that I listen to, and I think Shannon, you told me about this podcast.
Oh.
I think, or maybe I don't know. Either way, I think we both listened to it. It's a co-host. So kind of like what we're doing now. And their topic is usually it is a very high profile thing that happened. And they go through the research and they bounce back and forth. So it's a co-hosted podcast. But I have listened to some that are more interview style as well. Shannon, what are your favorites?
So I definitely do like the co-host conversational, I think, type of podcast. That's my preference. With a little bit of realness, not just totally scripted. That's, but I have also listened to storytelling ones as well, where it truly is like, it makes me think of, back in the day, which I was not alive for. So just, let's make sure we understand that. Before television with radio and listening to stories on radio. And I've only heard about it and seen it, but where they have sound effects and they have different components to telling the story. and it really causes you to have to make that movie in your mind. And I think that that's a great transfer for students as well, being able to with reading. But for me personally, I do enjoy that type as well. Sometimes I listen to them whenever I'm trying to go to sleep, like bedtime stories.
Because they put you to sleep.
Well, not because of that, because it helps clear my mind and I'm thinking about the story, instead of reading, I'm just like listening to the story.
So we've actually started, there's a short stories podcast for kids that I listen to with little man in the truck as we're going like to school and from school. And he has started picking up a lot of the words because he's only 2.5. But I'm noticing his like he's starting to use the characters and the words that they're using in the story. And it makes my teacher heart so happy. I'm like, oh, yay. We don't know necessarily what a beetle is yet, but there's a story about a beetle and he likes it. So we definitely listen to some of those story style podcasts too.
Yeah. And I do listen to one every morning that is a news one, and it's about 10 to 15 minutes long. It's called First Up. It's NPR. And it just kind of gives a quick, top stories like from the previous day or two, but it's an everyday one. And I like it because it's short. That's one thing I like about it. So I know I can hear it from home to work and I can hear the whole thing.
Yeah.
So a few people in the...
So I listen to longer podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you were about to say Rebecca Novotny was listening. So historical true crime, that one's really good. That there's one, American Scandal, Rebecca.
You were talking about.
Listen to it. You should give it a listen. It's pretty good. Let's see. Single episodes and multiple. So like a serial. I know that's actually the name of a podcast, Serial, and that became really, really popular probably 8-9 years ago, but it's one story told across multiple episodes. And I think that's actually like their tagline. that's how they introduce the podcast. But it's a serial style podcast. And those are really good too. I like that. True crime. Great. I'm glad we're not the only true crime lovers out there. Thank you, Andy. News and conversations. Yep. I like those too.
All right. Lovely. Thank you for sharing. You can continue to share some of those thoughts in the chat. We're going to keep on going. And when we're thinking about those things that we like about a podcast, we have, what makes a good podcast? So I was looking at these 5 components here. And after I looked at them, I was like, those are the same things that we probably think about whenever we're writing as well. Right? Absolutely, thinking or trying to have students think about. So who's your audience? Who are you trying to capture? What's the purpose behind it? And remembering that why. And then the different production elements, or what pieces are you adding in there to contribute to it? And that they, again, have that purpose. Your format, like we've talked about the different formats, whether it be interview style, whether it be storytelling, whether it be conversational, co-hosted. There's lots of different formats. We're going to talk about a few of those ideas. And then that length. So there are, depending on what you're doing, like thinking about the length of the podcast. Like if you want people to be able to listen to it on the way to work, or listen to it and then do something after with it, you want it to be a shorter length. If you want it's something where it's going to be like an ongoing, so then you're going to have, to have it pieced out and serial continuing, have cliffhangers, all of those good things to make them come back and listen to it. I know that I sometimes I'll find a podcast that I think looks interesting. And then I look to see how many episodes there are. And I'm like, oh, there's only 3. So then I think I'm going to have to wait for 4 and 5. And so sometimes I want them all to be there, or at least a good amount to kind of get me started on the story. And then, instead of just having to wait week by week for the next drop. But something
I'm
to think.
saying
I think that's our Netflix era, basically. It's like we're used to like getting it all at once instead of having to wait until the next Wednesday for the next episode to come out.
Exactly. And that actually, so the majority of my podcasts I listen to, if they don't have multiple seasons, like full seasons, I won't, because I don't like getting stuck. And then I'm like, oh, I have to wait another week. I can't do this. I want to know how the story ends. I want to know how this, I want to know how they figured out who the bad guy was, how the trial went. Like, I want to know all that stuff now. I don't want to wait.
I know. I'm with you. All right. So let's talk about how to analyze.
Yeah. So, just like we've kind of been talking about, when we're listening to a podcast just for pleasure. So again, I have a longer commute in, so I listen to podcasts just to make my longer drive bearable and not be so focused on traffic or whatever is going on the road. So I'm not really analyzing the podcast from this avenue. However, whenever we're using podcasts with students, we do want them to start thinking critically and evaluating what they're listening to, because in the end, we want them to create a podcast that attacks all of these things on the checklist. So what are we looking at? We're looking at audience and purpose, the topics, and again, the format and production elements, just like kind of what we were talking about. And really, it's going back to that writing. A lot of what we do as writing teachers and getting our kids to write goes in with planning for a podcast. So does it communicate effectively? If I'm not communicating effectively in my writing, when I speak, I'm not going to be able to communicate effectively there either. Does it hold your interest the whole time? So going back to what Shannon and I were just kind of talking about, I've listened to podcasts for like 5 minutes, and if I'm bored already, I'm going to find a new one. Like I'm not going to stick around to see if it gets better. I'm just like, nope, I'm done. So when our students create podcasts, we want to make sure that they're holding the audience's interest for the whole length of time, however long it is. And then identifying your audience. So again, going back to writing, when we're writing, we know that we're writing to an audience. We want to appeal to an audience. Same thing goes for podcasting. Topics. This is a big one. I remember as a writing teacher, it was like, this is vague. It's not clear. I'm not sure what you're talking about. And again, I feel like I'm talking a lot about writing, Shannon. Do I need to stop talking about writing so much?
I don't think so, because writing is really in every aspect of every content area.
It is.
Even though we sometimes forget it, but it is.
It is. Okay. Just, it was one of those, I was like, man,
and it's good to have students writing about their learning.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, great. Thank you for that little reassurance. But also, so if our students can't communicate effectively and have a clear line of thought or train of thought, it's all over the place, and that's really hard to follow. So listeners aren't going to stick with it. And then, are your co-hosts and hosts, are they well prepared? So do they know what they're talking about, or are they just kind of lost? Are they confused? Are they not very organized? It's really, even though you can't see them, you can hear it. If someone's not well prepared in what they're going to speak on, you can hear it. So getting our students to understand that it can be heard if you're not necessarily well prepared for what you're talking about. I remember going back to like speech class and having to video myself giving a speech and then having to watch it back. And it was like, oh, this is painful. So bringing that back in. And then lastly, when we're analyzing a podcast so that we can create our own, we want to think about the production aspect of it. So are we going to add any audio effects like music, background music, transitions, commercials? If we're making a really long podcast, a lot of podcasts have commercials or breaks in them somewhere, whether they're like 15 seconds to 30 seconds to a few minutes. So considering that production aspect of it, making sure that those elements don't take away from the podcast. So it probably is not the best idea to have background music going over the narration, because then it's hard to focus on the narration. Your brain might be focused on the music. And then picking a format. Are we going to have a host and co-host? Is it going to be more conversational? Are we going to interview someone and bring their answers in? Or is it going to be like a news or a story or narrative where it's one story over multiple podcasts? So all of that goes into the making of a podcast, whether it's professional or not. There's a lot that goes into it. And so getting our students to evaluate and analyze while they're listening to a podcast will help them create their own and create a fantastic podcast for others to listen to.
Love it. Yes. And we're going to talk more about that game one, because we had some fun ideas as to how to make a podcast that is a game. So you might be wondering about that.
Yes. And that was one of those where we were like, man, we should have recorded that.
Yes, it was. So hopefully we can recreate it. So there was as we post our attendance information here, don't leave us because we haven't even shown you how to do it yet. So make sure you
we haven't got to
stay,
the good stuff yet.
because the next thing we're going to do is get into Canva and show you how to create a podcast and have your students create a podcast with Canva. So for your attendance for this session, you are going to, if you're in district, you're going to go to that in district bit.ly, EdTech Live, capital CFISD, and then out of district, EdTech Live, capital visitor. And your attendance code is right there on the screen. CAST.
Yes. And
we're going to leave it there for a moment. Yes, let's answer the question.
In the YouTube chat. So Elizabeth asked, would this be good for all ages or just for older students? That's a fantastic question. I fully believe that kids in elementary all the way up to seniors in high school would benefit from and love creating a podcast. And I think Shannon, we actually talked to one of our elementary school interventionists about a podcast that he does with his elementary students.
Yes, we did. We're going to give you some examples. I actually lead you to that podcast and share a little bit more information. But for sure, I think elementary, and it's just going to change. Like, we're going to share some resources with you on the steps to take to create. And so depending on the age of your students is going to depend on how involved you are as the teacher. So, and how much support you give them. So I think once you see that information, you'll be able to kind of get some ideas on how you would implement that with your students. And we'll share some tips too. All right. Have we had that up long enough?
I think so. You and I, we can ramble for longer than a minute.
Hopefully we got it. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So we are now going to get into Canva and go over a simple 5-step process to using Canva to create a podcast. And step 1, we'll talk about designing a podcast cover. And we want to point out here with elementary students in Canva, they don't have access to templates. So the teacher would have to share, like find a couple templates and share those with students. And we have those directions here.
And I would also mention for middle school as well.
Yes.
So middle school,
okay,
they do have access to templates. However, even as an adult, I get lost in the weeds. And so as a middle school teacher, I would go find between 5 and 10, max 10, no more than 10. And I would create template links for them. And I would add those templates into a folder in Schoology and say, you can pick from these 10, but don't send them out into the wild world of Canva templates, because that's where they might just get lost.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we had to stop ourselves, and you'll see that in a moment whenever we do it. Hopefully you're able to do it live. We're on Zoom. I'm in Missouri on their internet here. So hopefully Canva will cooperate with all of those things and you guys can see. So we're going to go through these steps. You can read those. And then also there is a step-by-step guide linked, which we are going to share this presentation with you at the end, or a version of it. And this has a more in-depth step-by-step guide, okay, for each of those 5 steps. So everything that I'm about to show you and we're about to show you is more detailed out. And we got this from Brent Warner, who's a professor in Irvine Valley College. And so we want to give him credit for creating this step-by-step guide. We found it on the internet and we made a PDF out of it. So it would be easier to read. So, okay, let's go. So the first step is launching Canva and choosing a template. So I'm going to come in here to Canva. And for those of you that have never used Canva before, in our district, it is, we have it in our MyCFISD, our MyCFISD ClassLink portal. And it is there for students as well within additional resources. So you launch it from there. It brings you to this homepage after you log in. And then what we're going to do is look for a podcast cover template. So I clicked on templates, and then up here in my search, I am just going to type in podcast cover.
So,
and as you can
whenever
see,
we're looking for a podcast cover, if you think about the podcast that you listen to, while you have it open on your phone, there is an image, there's a picture that stays there the whole time. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that image that is going to essentially just be what you're adding your audio onto that will stay for the whole podcast. So it looks professional. It looks clean. It looks really good. And there's a lot that Shannon's been scrolling through. So this is where we got lost in the weeds.
But we stopped ourselves. We're like, okay, how about this one? We like it. So
we found a bright color.
This
we're like,
one. And then we came in to customize. Okay. Here we go. And so now that we're in here to customize, really, like she said, this is going to remain on the screen if they've played it, and it's like, and then they're just hearing the audio. And so you can edit this to the title of your podcast, which our podcast is going to be called Purposeful Podcast. And I love Canva for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons I love it is because whenever you put in text, I don't have to sit there and play with what size I want that text to be. I can just change the size of the box and it automatically makes the text the right size as I'm adjusting. So it makes it so much easier. Okay, yes, we're going to say that's good.
We like to use our time wisely. So not having to sit there and guess and do all that. It's fantastic.
Yes. So we can edit our images here. So I'm going to come over on the side. I'm looking at the time. I want to make sure we have plenty of time to do this. And I have some images of Ryan and I in my uploads already, but if I hadn't, I could just do upload files and I can add an image of us. Hopefully I don't have it. Yeah. So I can choose an image from here. I can also, in the apps, hopefully it's being slow on me. Michelle, I don't know if it's going to load. There we go.
And there are times
photos.
Canva goes, it just needs, it's not awake yet. It needs the 2 cups of coffee.
It didn't have it. It didn't have its 2 cups of coffee.
It didn't.
Right. So I can find other photos to use, which are also located within elements too. So if I'm looking for a specific picture to use, or I want to upload a picture of ourselves. So in our case, we're going to upload a picture, but I could search elements and find a picture to use as well. So we're not going to get in too much into the graphic part of it, just because of time purposes. But if you have any questions about that piece, just let us know. and we can always provide you with some more direction there. So I'm trying to find our picture here, our individual selves, and it's being slow. So I'm going to maybe just pick this one just because. So when I choose this, I can just choose it and it's going to hopefully pop up here. Maybe. Excuse me.
Well, and this would be a good time to just know that we love technology, but it's not always as fast as we want it to be. So just letting your kiddos know too, like it'll get there eventually. Don't click 100,000 times because then you don't know what you're clicking on.
So this specific one had what's called a picture frame in it. So I could drag that picture and then it automatically sizes it within that frame, which is really great. And then I can kind of play around with adjusting the size. And I'm like, okay, I just want me on this side, let's say. So I'm going to crop Ryan out of there. And then I could do the same on the right-hand side and have her over there. So I'm going to skip ahead, change my text, right? Have some information here. It's just because it's moving so slow. I'm not going to spend too much time adjusting, but you're just making that one pager that gives information about your podcast. So next step, let's see. I'm going to flip back over here. Let me. Okay. Our next step is to begin recording our audio. So recording phase, preparing to record and setting up the recording. Okay. All these steps are again in this PDF, which you will get. And I am going to right over here, uploads, and I'm going to choose record yourself.
So we actually, we tested this before, thankfully. So we know, we're not winging it. We know that just like we are today, if you're on Zoom, so if a student is absent for whatever reason, or they're not able to be there on the recording day, if students can jump into some sort of online platform like this, the recording will pick up. They can still do their recording, or they can record on their own device and then upload it into the project later. And then it'll just be a matter of smashing that audio, mixing it together and getting it right where it needs to be.
I think it's also a really great way, which you're going to see an example from Reed Elementary in a few minutes. And they always have a guest that joins them. And a lot of times it's over the phone. So a way to do that recording of the guest interview is to set up a Zoom, and then you're able to pick up your guests or your interviewees' responses as well. So now that I'm in here, I don't want to have my camera on because I do just want audio. And you could put your camera on. That's obviously an option, but I'm going to do no camera. And then choose my microphone. And then whenever I'm ready, I'm just going to click record. So it gives me a countdown. Welcome to Purposeful Podcasting. We're so glad to have you here. Today, we're going to be talking to Dr. Peter Libreros, which is an interventionist at Reed Elementary, and how he has gotten started with a really powerful podcast with his students. And I probably would have said some more, but I'm trying to be fast here. So, and then I click done. I can listen to it right here to make sure it's good. Welcome to Purposeful Podcasting. We're so glad to have you. And if I'm good with it, then I do save and exit. If I am like, whoop, made a mistake, I can delete right here. So I'm going to go ahead and say save and exit, because the key thing here is to do this in sections, right? So I just did a quick introduction. Now I'm coming to this same tile and I'm going to duplicate it just by clicking my 3 little dots here. I'm going to duplicate that page. We do have a backup in case this starts to get too slow. I'm watching our time here. So, and then I do the same thing. Now I'm on this one, and you can always tell which one you're on because you'll have that highlight around it, that purple highlight. And then I come up, record yourself, and record the next part, which in this case is going to be my first question to my guest. Okay. So I do the same thing, record, counts me down. Okay, our first question is, and I would record that first question, save and exit. Okay, now this little guy here that is super big, right? I can make this very small. I can also, so that it's not showing on the page, so I can make it super small so that it's way down there in the corner. The other option I actually have, which I've done before, is to move it to the back. So I can go into the position, like just by clicking on my little 3 dots here, and I can send that. I should be able to send that to the back. I might have to do that through layers. And I can adjust it to move it to the back. But really, I think just making it small. Our first question is, and I would record that first question, but you can hear where even if it's little, it automatically plays. Okay. So the way that we did this this podcast is we contacted our participant, Dr. Libreros at Reed, and provided him with some questions. And we could have done this in a phone call or, like we said, on a Zoom and had it more conversational, but we just asked him to provide us with audio clips with his responses. So then once he did that, see, I'm going to delete my other recordings. Delete. It's being really slow. I just want to give you a quick little look at how we did this part, and delete. Okay, so he provided us with his responses, and then I went into, I downloaded his responses and uploaded his responses to the, to our project. And so here are all of his responses. So I can easily just bring this in, and you can see that it puts it down here at the bottom. And then I just had to make a little adjustment here. So I will say that this part gets a little more complicated. So the easier thing would be to kind of have that live conversation with someone, especially getting started, right? So I can make an adjustment so that this piece, which is going to give me some trouble here, and I just have to drag that out so that it covers the whole. All right, I'm going to stop there just because it's being very, very slow, and I want to make sure we show you guys everything here. So next step. All right, Ryan, you want to talk through the next step?
Absolutely.
Kind of talked about creating, but the segments, but you can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So the segments, and again, this even on our network, sometimes Canva acts a little slow. And so creating the segments, whenever you go into, Shannon, can you go back into the podcast, and then at the very bottom, right there at the duration. So if you click on or hold your mouse over the sides of either the recording or the image, you should get arrows that allow you to drag back and forth to edit that segment to make it shorter or longer. So whenever we were creating the different segments with Dr. Libreros, we had just a 5-second image, and then we added the audio that was like 2 minutes long. And so we had to sit there and drag that segment tile to make it longer to fit the whole audio. And then that way, whenever you're done with it and you close duration, you'll actually see under each tile where you have audio and where you don't. Well, where you've added additional audio and where you haven't, where it's already recorded versus this is added. And then in our final podcast that we created, we actually added intro and outro music.
Yes, so that's
And
the next
that
step
can be-
here. So elevating it with like some effects. Yes. So keep going. That's in here.
So that can be found in the apps in Canva. Whenever you search for, there we go. Too many cups of coffee, y'all. I apologize. Whenever you search for audio, you will find the audio that is automatically there in Canva for you. And I just found one that was about 7 seconds long. It's a really funky, like rock drums fun. And then I shortened it down to 5 seconds. So you get enough of the intro, but it's not overbearing. It's not too long, and it holds your attention to get started with the next segment.
Yes. So I'm trying to get this to just load here so you all can see it's being, but basically what I'm looking for is the way I added that Photos app here a minute ago, I showed you all, it's the same thing for the audio. And the great thing is once I've added that, then it stays over here on the left. So it makes it a lot easier to find. In addition, I should be able to also, oh no, I think Elements is just images. So then that audio would stay over here on the left. And it's just being so slow that I don't want to take the time to wait for that, but I promise it's there. Okay. And so let's show you the final product. Okay, finalizing and sharing. So once we're good, we can always listen to the podcast as we go. So right up here, there's this play button. So I can click on this play button, and then this is going to show me where we're at so far. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe, may not. We had a feeling this might happen when we were on Zoom, because when we were practicing a little bit, there we go. So this gives you an idea of what that's going to look like at the end, whenever you're all done.
Yeah, and I would strongly suggest previewing it, especially after you've added outside audio. Preview it after every single time, because even this morning, as I was just double checking things, the audio got switched up and moved around. I was like, gotta go in and fix and realign and readjust. So I would strongly suggest as you create a segment, as you're adding audio, just preview it. It might take a little bit longer, but you'll know at the end that what you've created is great. And
yes.
I think, can we share kind
yes.
of the what we've created?
We put it in the oven and it came out baked type of idea. That's what we said. I said, we need like a pre-baked cake just in case Canva starts giving us trouble while we're on Zoom. So, and now also streaming to YouTube. So we have our pre-baked. Here it is.
Yep. With our images and everything already loaded. Look, it's beautiful. The decorating's all done.
Look at that. You can see our little audio is here within each component. And we're going to listen to just a little bit of it, because we want you to hear some of the questions that we got from, or the answers that we got from Dr. Libreros.
Sorry. Welcome to Purposeful Podcasting. I'm Shannon.
I'm going to skip it ahead.
To them, this is...
Okay.
So excited that we get to have you on our podcast today. The first question that we have is kind of a big one, I feel like. So we're just jumping in right out of the gate. What tips would you give teachers who might be nervous about implementing podcasts to help them get started? Good one. Good one.
So I have a couple of tips that could help teachers that are nervous about implementing a podcast. First of all, know that kids are tech savvy. They can do this. To them, this is second nature. I remember showing my students WeVideo, which is the platform that we use to edit all of our podcasts, and they, in just a couple of clicks here and there, they were able to figure everything out. Second, give yourself some grace, right? It is a new thing. It is, technology and maybe something that we're not used to already. So give yourself some grace, give yourself some time to try something new and start small. And actually, that's my next tip. Start small. A lot of times I know that one of my mistakes was doing a lot of segments, having a lot of segments in one podcast, and that just created a lot more on myself and the students, and keeping up that expectation.
All right, I'm going to pause it there. It's actually, we have 4 different questions. We asked Dr. Liberos, and he gave some really great tips on how he got started with their podcast. And in addition, at the end, there's a special little piece from the students and how they feel about podcasting. And I'm just going to play like one little part of it. Let's see if I can get to it quickly.
Episodes out.
Let's see.
Experts that actually do the job.
Later on, where we knew that we
were running out of time, but I really want you to hear this little part.
I like being in a podcast because when I read articles, it's good because when I read them, they face their fears or like they achieve their dreams, and it helps me read good and well.
Hi, my name is Catalea, and this is why I like the podcast.
Okay, cliffhanger. We're going to leave it there. We've provided you with a link to listen to the whole thing, so you're going to listen to it later on your own. It is only 13 minutes long, so not too long. It's a good ride to work length. All right, let's continue. We got a couple more things to share with you all before our time is up. We're going to go a little over, but I promise it'll be worth it.
It's always worth it.
Oh, I went too fast, I think. Hang on, back. Okay.
So now that we've gone over the creation process, now you're probably like, okay, great. Now what do I do? Here are some ideas. We have linked the Read Elementary, the Readcast podcast, so you can follow along and listen to Dr. Libreros' students. Again, it's the students who are creating and recording the podcast. But then we also added some other ideas that go over all subjects. So we're not just language arts. You can clearly tell that I was a language arts teacher and I taught writing because that was like all I focused on. I apologize. But there are some fantastic ideas on this list for how you can use podcasting with your students in math and science and all subjects. So here's just a little idea list to get you started.
Love it. And that game one we were talking about how you could do like number of the day, and you have to give clues, and then they have to guess what the number is, and the students could create those types of things. So
Yes.
Lots of fun ways to do it. Okay, so making a plan, this kind of, we did find, this is from TCEA, Dr. Bruce Ellis. We linked here as well, these steps in more detail, but thinking about what your roles are for the students, how they're going to be evaluated. We already kind of did the explore and choose tools for you. Try it out in Canva, but I know Dr. Liberos uses WeVideo with his students, so you don't need any extra equipment. You just use the microphone on the computer. Pacing your process, practice as a class, like do some just like simple ones. How do you want to group your students? Do you want to group them in partnerships, in 4? Or is it something that you're doing all together as a class and you're leading it? And then thinking about your topics, and then beginning your recording. This piece right here, checking in regularly, that's definitely a key one. Having those check-ins, especially depending on how the length of the process. So if it's just a one and done, we're just going to do this podcast for this one assignment, or are we doing this that's ongoing? And then how the students are going to publish. So they can share that link with you through Canva. They can download it as an it downloads as an MP4, like a video. And then you can upload that to Schoology. You could also upload that to a Canva website or to a Wakelet. There's lots of different, we didn't have time to get to all of that today, but there's some different ways. And then reviewing and revising your process, like ever changing. We learn whenever we start doing it. And Ryan and I are both available. If you're here in Sci-Fair, we can come in and meet with you one-on-one and talk through and help you get this started in your classroom as well.
Yes. So right here, here are a couple of things. One, the bit.ly on this slide is going to take you into the presentation template that we used to create our presentation today. It is not our presentation for today. There is a second link for our presentation today that has all of these links and everything in it with all of our guides and everything else. So I wanted to just kind of go over this page real quick. Podcast examples, there are some linked right there. There's a whole list. If you want to listen to the full podcast that we created today, that one is a one and done. We're not legit creating a podcast, although we really would love to. But if you click on it, it will open into the cover. You'll play the whole thing. You'll hear all of the interview questions and answers, and it's fantastic. Also, we added articles in here for you if you want to read and dig a little bit more about why you should use podcasting, or if you want to consider a rubric for podcasting, because that's a thing. We added all of that in here for you. So that link, I believe Ms. Ferguson is going to share the second link, which the CFISD is all capitalized and podcast, the P in podcast is capitalized. They're the same link, but one's lowercase, one's upper. So we're going to share that into the chat. And up next, we have Edpuzzle. Yay!
Yes.
So real quick, just a thank you to Dr. Peter Labros at Reed Elementary for taking the time to answer our questions so that we could create a podcast and share that with you. Also to Shelley Plumley, Dr. Bruce Ellis, and Brent Warner. We learned a lot from them about podcasting in the classroom with students. So we want to definitely give them credit because we're learning all the time and we want to share who we're learning from.
Absolutely. Okay. So yeah, oh, don't look at my email. So like Ryan said, up next, we do have an Edpuzzle session in addition to Edpuzzle. I'm going to bring this up here.
Yes. Remember, there are two channels going on right now. We have A and B. You are in A. Edpuzzle is up next in A. Channel B, we are looking at academic speaking practice with students.
Right. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and hope to hear from you how we can help you with podcasting in your class.
Yes. Thank y'all.
Have
a quick break. Saturday.
Yes. Enjoy. Thank you.
Welcome to EdTech Live. We are happy that you are here. I'm Ryan, and this is Tamara.
We'd like to take a moment to welcome you to today's event and give you a little information about what to expect.
New sessions start each hour, and you can stay for the whole event or just watch the sessions that you're interested in seeing. There is a 10 to 15 minute break between each session where you can enter your attendance credit or take care of personal needs. During the live event, you also have 2 sessions to choose from each hour. After the live event, you can watch any of the other sessions on your own time.
During each session, the host will give you a link and a secret code to jot down. This will be the link that you use to access the attendance forms, and you will enter the code into the form. You can keep this form open throughout the event in a separate tab because you'll have to do this for each session. You can still earn attendance credit even if you're watching after the live event. However, you must submit by midnight tomorrow.
Within an hour of submitting your attendance, you should be receiving a response receipt. If you do not receive this email, please resubmit the attendance form and double check to ensure that your email is typed correctly.
We, along with the entire EdTech team, would like to thank you for joining us today and enjoy your session. It will be starting soon.
Clearing your cookies and cache is easy. All you need to do is click on the three dots, scroll down and click on Settings. On the left, you're going to look for Privacy and Security. Click on that and then clear your browsing data. Once you open it, you can just click on your cookies and cache, then clear. Good morning. Thank you for joining us for EdTech Live. In this session coming up, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. In this session coming up, we're going to be sharing Edpuzzle. So I hope you are just as excited as we are. So I'm going to share my screen just to review some quick tips on using YouTube. So if you notice right now, I've got it paused. Even with this being live streaming, you can pause at any point you want and go ahead and click play to pick up where you left off. There's also a closed captioning. So if you want to have closed captioning on or off, again, you can just click and toggle that on and off. And you can also adjust the speed of the playback. So if you decide to pause it and you want to catch up with us in real time, go ahead and run it at 1.5, 2 times speed, whatever feels comfortable for you. Or you can just click the little red dot and sort of scrub through. So those are just some quick tips while you're in YouTube today. Also, remember, any questions you have, anything that really resonates with you, leave us a comment in the chat, because during the session, I'll be monitoring that to make sure that we get all those questions addressed and everything's good to go. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and bring in the real expert. With us today, we have Kelly from Edpuzzle, and she is the School Success Director at Edpuzzle. Did I get that right, Kelly?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm having fun. I hope they are too. I mean, we just came off 2 really good sessions, so.
Awesome. Well, let's hope that we can continue that streak and have an amazing session today.
Great. All right, Kelly. Well, whenever you're ready, feel free to take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. Hi, everybody. My name is Kelly Sherrill. I am one of the directors of School Success with Edpuzzle. It's wonderful to be here today. Today, we're going to talk about critical thinking skills with Edpuzzle. So You should be able to see my screen, and now you see the title. We're going to go over the agenda that we have set for this quick session. We're going to talk about strategic tips to promote critical thinking skills in your learning environment, whatever that may look like. We're going to talk about having purpose behind video lessons, and then we're going to talk about choosing self-serving lessons by making connections to things that we've taught during the time that we've had with our students. And then we're going to look into purposeful notes to build those connections with. And last, we're going to cover types of questions to promote higher order thinking skills beyond just one-word responses. So with that being said, we want to first experience Edpuzzle as a learner, so you can get your brain ready for discussing critical thinking skills before implementing them into an Edpuzzle video as a teacher. So please feel free to join my open class. It does not require you to log in as a student. You just put in a one-time username for a quick demo of what Edpuzzle has to offer. So here I have the URL to go into Edpuzzle with. I also have it here on Edpuzzle. I have the class open and ready if you would like to join. This will be a very quick video. It is about brain teasers with critical thinking skills. So we're just going to get your brain ready to start thinking about those higher order thinking skills. So we're going to wait just a few minutes for people to be able to type in that link, edpuzzle.com/open/AFANUPF. That should prompt you to create a one-time username. You can put your first name in there, and then you will join the live mode. Awesome. I see some people joining already. Thank you so much. And like I said, this is going to be a very quick live mode. I just want to show you what Edpuzzle does. And this is one of the features in Edpuzzle called live mode that you can utilize as a whole group with your students. So the screen that you are seeing is my screen. I am the teacher. And if you sign up for live mode, you're seeing the student side. So you will see what your students see. It will prompt you as a student to watch your teacher's projection. It will give you the questions to answer throughout the video. Usually with Edpuzzle, we do this individually with students. However, with live mode, you can do a whole group session with live mode. We show the video, the teacher's the only one that shows it, and the students answer the questions live. So we get to see your live answers on the screen today. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining. We're going to give it a few more seconds here. You will still be able to join when I start live mode. So if you are scrambling to get that code in, you'll be able to still join even after I start live mode. So no worries there. Awesome. Thank you guys for waiting. All right, give it about a few more seconds to get in. Like I said, you'll be able to still get into the live mode even after I start it. If you utilize the link and create that one-time username, it might just have you wait till the next question comes up in my live mode, but you'll still be able to join. So we're going to go ahead and click start. Thank you for all those who have joined so far. And I'm going to play the video. You should be able to hear it.
Here's a brain teaser.
So I've started off with a note first. Here you can see that I put a note in. Today, we're going to use our critical thinking skills to try and solve this brain teaser. So I opened up my live mode with just a quick note. And as you can see, I have some students already clicking that they read the note. There was no answer. You didn't have to put in an answer. You just were reading the note. I just wanted to start off letting you know why we're watching this video, which that's a tip I'm going to get into later. I'm just going to click continue. And here we can see that note again, so we could talk about it in further detail if I was working with my students.
A rooster is on the roof of a barn facing east. The wind is blowing to the west at 10 miles per hour. The rooster lays an egg. Which direction does the egg roll? If you want, you can pause the video and think it over.
All right, so now I have an open-ended question. Which way do you think the egg will roll? And my students are able to type in their response. We even have a feature in Edpuzzle where there will be a little microphone for students to submit a verbal response as well. So your students can either type their response in or they can submit an audio response as an answer. Awesome. I see some of my students are already filling this out. Perfect. And just a quick tip, if you ever do live mode with your students and you see that maybe half of the students have filled it out, but you need to continue on to move through, maybe you're running out of time, you can always click continue and students can go back and answer questions that they did not have a chance to answer previously. So there is the ability for students who may have missed submitting their answer, or maybe they got called out or the bell rang and you had to exit live mode. Students are able to go back and complete individually as well. I'm going to click continue. So here we have our open-ended question. I can show the responses. And here we can see that we have a very varied responses here. Left, behind, to the west, anyway at once. I love that one. And as you can see with live mode here, I don't have names associated. So right now I can go into the back end to see who said what. However, I love this because it does provide a safe space for answering live with your students. So here we have our responses. I'm going to click continue because it's going to let us know what the actual answer is.
The answer? There is no egg. The rooster didn't lay one because roosters are male. Did you get it right? Let's pick this apart and see why many people have difficulty with this brain teaser and so many others.
All right, so I put a note in here, and just a reminder, a note, students are not answering. It's just something that pauses the video. You can have a signaling event. So here I put in a little GIF because I didn't get it right the first time that I watched this video. And I wanted to just kind of put that in there to make it feel like a safe space here of, man, I didn't get it either. But here, like I said, we have just a little note, and let's continue on because it's going to talk about why we may have not caught on to it being a rooster.
First, it's easy to overlook details or accept them without questioning. In this brain teaser, the answer could be found in the second word, rooster. In hindsight, we realize it's impossible for roosters to lay eggs, but it's easy to overlook when it's mentioned casually in the brain teaser. Another process at work in this brain teaser is misdirection. There were several details included that we may have paid too much attention to. The fact that the rooster was facing east, and that the wind was blowing west at 10 miles per hour. In the end, these details had nothing to do with the actual answer, but because they seemed important in the context of the brain teaser, they directed us away from the relevant information. The same techniques used to solve brain teasers can also be applied to real-world situations. When you're trying to figure something out, it's important to analyze the information that's available to you. Are there any key details I may be missing? Am I being misled by something? Could I be thinking about this in another way? Brain teasers not only help to keep your mind sharp, but they can help improve your critical thinking skills as well.
So now I have an open-ended question for my students. What are some other ways you can improve/encourage your critical thinking in the classroom? So I want to just get a quick response here to see if you guys have any great ideas, or if you have been utilizing critical thinking skills in your classroom environment. What does that look like? So fill it out. And we will check it real quick, and then we're going to move into the presentation today about critical thinking skills and some examples on how to use that with video. Awesome. Thank you to those who are filling it out quickly. I just want to make sure that we save time here for diving into the deep stuff here today on our presentation and really talking about like the different tips and tricks and best practices when it comes to higher order thinking skills, critical thinking skills, and utilizing video with those. Awesome. Thank you so much. And like I said, this is a very quick live mode. Hopefully I was able to show you the live mode and what it looks like for teacher, which is on my screen, and student, which was on your screen. So that way you can utilize live mode in your classroom as well, especially for like a whole group session like this, where you want to have debates and participate and have a session. Maybe you're addressing some misconceptions, or maybe you're introducing a new topic and you just want to get some feelers out whole group wise for what your students already know and what they've already mastered. All right, I'm going to click continue so that way we can move on, but I will show those responses right here. Provide small group discussions using the rewatch, creating a podcast. I love that reference to the last session. Great job there. Give thought-provoking questions. Great. So we can go into a few of those actually in our session today. So I'm going to click continue because we got a few more seconds of this video with just one more little brain teaser to think about.
Let's finish things off with another brain teaser. You have a single match and are in a dark room with a candle, an oil lamp, and a gas stove. Which do you light first? The answer, the match.
Awesome. So that was the end of my live mode video. I'm going to click exit live mode. And now as a student, it should say mission accomplished. And you have the ability to leave the open class at the top right. So to get back into your Edpuzzle, just click that leave open class in the top right whenever I exit live mode and it says mission accomplished. Awesome. So I hope you enjoyed the live mode. It was just to prep our brains to get ready to start thinking about those critical thinking skills. So let's dive into some of those critical thinking skills. Let's start off with why. Why should we think about thought-provoking questions? Why should we include those into video lessons? One of my favorite TV shows summarized it best, Ted Lasso. He said, be curious, not judgmental. But in education, I would like to change that a little to teach curiosity, not test prep. So we need to think about why we're wanting to promote higher order thinking skills with Edpuzzle. In today's world, we're teaching students that their jobs in the future, their careers may not even be designed yet. That's a crazy thought, right? So in the chat, feel free to list some jobs that are around today that weren't around when you were in school. I can personally attest to my job right now as the director of success at an EdTech company. That wasn't available when I was in high school or in middle school or even elementary. So in the chat, feel free to think about stuff like that. Think about jobs that are available today that were not available when you were going through K-12. And just with you thinking about something like that, we need to take our lessons that we are teaching students and get them to think critically about situations and not just the route memorization that we may have been taught previously. So we need to prepare their brains for the critical thinking skills for future scenarios, future careers that we may not even know about today. So teaching them to analyze and evaluate issues and fix those issues and create solutions for them. That's the goal here today that we want to prepare our students for the future. So it's important to know the why of things. So why should I attend this session? Why should I put creamer in coffee? Why should I think about critical thinking skills? So kind of like how in that live mode, I talked about the why at the beginning. It is amazing to address that with your students and let them know why they're doing something. And that's one of my first tips. But first, I want to address some of the struggles that we face as teachers in the field. So, if you didn't know by my hand reactions and everything, I was a teacher as well. I taught second and third grade for 7 years. So I personally can attest to some of the daily struggles that we face in the classroom or in the classroom environment today. Students might feel lost with trying to master certain standards. There's a range of emotions happening, from feeling boredom to having bad days to having great days. And then teachers may have struggles as well, just as workload, differentiating content, but never lowering your standards because you want every student to succeed and master that standard. And then the biggest challenge that I faced personally in my classroom was time and energy. After working with my students all day, sometimes my brain just couldn't muster up something to create for next week. So that I would need to take a brain break to reorganize my thoughts and get excited about my next standard that I was going to approach. So there are daily struggles, and I wanted to acknowledge those because that is a real life thing here. And so with those struggles, hopefully I can give you some ideas that may spark encouragement and may spark some of that energy. So that way it doesn't feel like an uphill battle whenever you're thinking about critical thinking skills or higher order thinking questions. It will just now come as a natural thing, or it will bring encouragement to you to add higher order thinking questions into your video lessons. So that is some of the struggles. Let's hop into my first tip for critical thinking skills with Edpuzzle. So the first tip I would encourage to promote critical thinking skills is to start off with the why. So if you remember just 2 slides ago, I did exactly that. I told you about why we're having the session today. In the live mode, I opened up with a note showing you why we're doing this live mode. It was to show you some brain teasers to get your brain ready to think about critical thinking. So if students know why they're starting a video and can ready their brain for what's coming up, it really does make a bigger impact. Personally, in my classroom, whenever in the morning, I would list out the standards on the board, or I would have my students, at least know what standards we were working on that day, because I wanted to ready their brains. I wanted to get that framework built. I wanted them to know, what we're going to be learning about and why we're going to be learning about it. So just like that, just like your daily interactions with your students where you build that why, we want to build the why in video lessons as well. So I'm going to hop into Edpuzzle now, and I'm going to find a video. Edpuzzle Originals, I just want to make a quick little plug here. These are already standards aligned content, it is TEKS aligned content, and we can go in and it already has some higher order thinking questions embedded into the videos. So I am going to choose this one. Where in the world are all the volcanoes? Mapping Earth's most destructive volcanoes. So here we have this Edpuzzle Originals video. There are already questions embedded, as you can see along the bottom. I'm going to click Edit. That makes the video my copy, and now I can start working on my copy. The first thing I want to do, I want to go in and put my why at the very beginning. So I'm going to put in a note, and I'm going to write out my why. So I may reference it back to something that we've already talked about to build that connection. So here I'm going to say, yesterday we discussed what a volcano is and why they erupt. Let's take a look at where most volcanoes are located in the world and try to find a pattern. So I have already previewed this video as a teacher, and that is a best practice that I would like to just make known. As a teacher, it is always a best practice to preview what you are giving your students, watch the video in its entirety, and read over every question that was already embedded and think about how to build upon that. So here, I've already previewed this video. This video is about looking at a map of the world and seeing where the volcanoes are formed and thinking about why they're formed there and the patterns that we see. So that's why I included that in my note. I included it so that way I'm prepping my students' brain with the why. Why are they watching this video? Because we talked about something yesterday with it. And let's take a look at where most volcanoes are located and trying to find a pattern. So I'm prepping them for the video so that way they get their framework ready. So I'm just going to click save. And in light of time, we're not going to preview the whole video together. It's about a 5.5-minute video. As a teacher, I can always go into the cut here at the top and cut out sections if I need to, cut out information that may not be relevant, or I could divide it up into multiple parts to make it chunked for my students to watch it. But I just wanted to start this off by putting in a note for my why. So let's hop back to my slides and let's talk about our second tip. The second tip is to find connections. Dive deeper beyond the video and make the connection to something so that way the tunnel vision disappears. Whenever a student has tunnel vision, they're thinking that this video is just a one little piece of information and it may get stored and it may not. When we build connections and build relevance upon videos, it will then become a little bit more sticky in everyone's brain. So just think about everyday life. Whenever you meet a new person and you hear their name, and then maybe you hear some hobbies they like, or maybe you learn about some of their passions, it becomes easier to remember the conversation because you're able to build upon that knowledge of what their name is with something that they like or they do in everyday life. And so just like that, just like our everyday life where we are building connections and trying to piece together connections in our brain, we need to do the same for lessons and video lessons. So here, I'm going to hop back into my Edpuzzle video. And like I said, I've already previewed this video before, so I know exactly where to jump. But here we have, in this section right here, it starts off with talking about a map, and it brings up a map key. So maybe I talked about this with my students yesterday, last week, last month, but I want to put in a note to build that connection. So right here, I may add in a note. And in that note, I'm just going to write, where else have we seen a map key before? And this is a note. I may click on that audio to record it. And it, like I said, with a note, they don't put in a response. So maybe it's just a thought-provoking question that they're not answering. Or I could change it to an open-ended question where they do have to respond. And I can put in a read aloud for it. Where else have we seen a map key before? And so now my students have the ability to either read the question or listen to it. And then I can toggle allow audio responses on for their ability to either type their answer or verbalize their answer to me. So here I'm building that connection, and then I'm building it to something maybe that we talked about previously. So that way I'm making it more relevant outside of just the video. So that tunnel vision disappears and they're now piecing together the puzzle of, oh yeah, we looked at a map key on this map yesterday, and here's a map key on this video. So now we're building that connection. Awesome. All right. Let's take a deep breath here and move on to our next tip. Next tip, add multiple questions to the same stopping point. Put more than one question in. So think about it this way. Whenever you're teaching and there's an interruption every 5 to 10 minutes, maybe it's an announcement, maybe some technology had an issue, maybe a student needed to go to the restroom. There's constant disruptions. It gets harder to think about and focus entirely on that lesson. So just like everyday life, think about that for video. If there is a question every 10 seconds in a video, it can be really difficult for that student to focus and keep their attention and to really process what that video is trying to tell them. So with that being said, one of the best practices that I can recommend with Edpuzzle content is to put multiple questions into one stopping point. Let me show you how. So here, I'm going to hop to around the 3-minute.
Interesting. Was an even larger pattern. All the volcanoes near the Pacific Ocean. What kind of pattern do you see?
I'm hopping to this 3-minute and 25-second mark where it's talking about the volcanoes and it shows it on the map. And then they're going to talk about what they call the ring of fire, about where all these volcanoes are located and what kind of pattern are we seeing with this volcano ring of fire laid out on the map. So here we do already have a question embedded. However, I want to add another question to this stopping point, so that way I'm not putting another question 10 seconds later. I want my students to have this one stopping point and answer multiple questions in the same stopping point. In order to do that, look at the question, look below the question, and here it says add another note or question here. I can click on open-ended, multiple choice, or a note. I'm going to click on an open-ended, and I'm going to type in, let's see, what other pattern do you see? And I might give a little prompt here as well. Where are all the volcanoes near? And so they have first a multiple choice question. And then I'm asking a little bit deeper into their understanding. What other pattern do you see? And where are all the volcanoes near? So I might click save here. And as you can see up here above the question, there's these 2 dots, a blue dot and a black dot. That blue dot means you're on the first question. When I click next question, it moves to the second one. And now I'm going to add a third question to the stopping point because I want to dive a little bit deeper with this one. I'm going to add another open-ended question. Why do you think all of these volcanoes are near the water? So this is where I wanted my students to get to. I wanted for them to curve their thinking into realizing that most of these volcanoes are near the ocean. And so I'm going to prompt them a little bit deeper and ask them, why do they think that? And I might turn on those audio responses and click save. So now I have multiple questions in this one stopping point. It's not breaking up the video every 10 seconds. It's giving students kind of connected questions that I'm building upon. So what pattern do you see? What other pattern do you see? And why do you think they're all near the water? All right. Hopping back into my slides, we are going to take a natural pause right here for your attendance time. So I'm going to let Amanda get on and talk about your attendance. And if you have any questions at this time, feel free to put them in the chat as well. Oh, I think Amanda might be muted right now.
I think that just sort of makes it an official meeting. Thank you, Kelly. So if you are in district, you're going to use the link sort of right above my floating head. If you're out of district, you're going to use the one over to the side, the one that has EdTech Live Visitor. And the part that you need for either one of those is the attendance code for this session, which is video, just VIDEO. And Kelly, really, we've gotten a lot of people loving what you're doing in the session. The only real question we've gotten is for our younger learners. So do you have any suggestions specific to pre-K, the primary grades, those younger students?
Yes, I love that question because Edpuzzle is for everybody. Some of the tips that I would recommend for I call them my K2 babies, my pre-K2 babies. I would recommend utilizing that live mode. So I have some kindergarten teachers across the nation who utilize live mode and they run it on their projector and the kids sit on the carpet, or maybe they have groups of students utilizing one device to answer the questions together. So that is a quick tip. I also recommend, just like I put GIFs into the questions during the live mode, you can always add images or GIFs into your questions as well. So here you might type in, and I know this isn't going to be relevant to the volcanoes, but you could say like, which one of these
you may want to share your screen. I stole it for the attendance.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
Awesome. All right. So here we can add a multiple choice question. And which one of these is a volcano? So you may even need to start a little bit further with like finding out which one is a volcano. And here with each answer choice, instead of typing an answer, you could put an image and upload images into your Edpuzzle questions. So they could click on whatever picture represents the volcano. So that is a great accommodation for any student, especially K2, is to have pictures, and you can also utilize your read aloud here. So we could put in the read aloud. So where I'm reading this question, and then maybe I do a read aloud for each answer choice. So you would just make sure you click the right one, and then you could put in an audio response for each answer choice as well. So there's some accommodations here for students of any range, inserting images, inserting GIFs, using the read aloud portions. And then even with notes, you can utilize a read aloud note. So students have the ability to read it or listen to it, especially for students like K2. They can listen to your questions or notes. And then I highly recommend toggling allow audio responses on right here. This gives students the ability to verbalize their answer instead of typing it in, especially for my K2 where it takes 5 minutes to log in to anything or 5-10 minutes to type an answer out. You can they have a little microphone ability that they can click to verbalize their response instead. You could also use it for reading fluency as well. I know teaching second grade previously, fluency was a big deal. So I would read something out loud from the video, and then the students were able to click that microphone to repeat the words back to me. And then we could practice that fluency, especially with sight words or Dolch phrases, anything like that. So Edpuzzle has over 30 million videos in our library. We do have a ton of K2 teachers utilizing Edpuzzle. So doing searches on Edpuzzle itself, I'm going to just click finish right here so that way I can show you. You could search at the top of Edpuzzle to find videos on Edpuzzle that teachers have already put questions into, and teachers may have already put pictures into. So that way it takes some of the work out, and you can build upon what some teachers have already started. So overall, K2, I would recommend live mode, especially with your students just learning about technology. Live mode is a great way to introduce them to Edpuzzle and introduce them to technology. I would recommend utilizing images or GIFs or pictures into your questions or an answer choices. And I would highly recommend using the audio for questions and answers. So doing your read alouds for your questions and allowing those audio responses for open-ended responses.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. And we're getting lots of comments in the chat. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, we do have Manny in there as well. So thank you, Manny. Always a help. We're glad to have both of you. And those are our questions for now. So I'll go ahead and let you take it away, Kelly. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I love that K2 question because like I said, I joined Edpuzzle after teaching 2nd and 3rd grade, and I personally utilized it in my classroom. And that was my goal in life, is to let teachers know that you too can utilize technology in the classroom, especially with your littles, especially K-12. So just bringing awareness to the amazingness that is technology with your littles. And your littles, I mean, they know screens, so they can access the technology too. Sometimes it just takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more proactivity on the forefront. Awesome. All right, let's hop into tip number 4. Vary your questions. So now we're going to get into the types of questions. So the previous 3 tips I had was just about kind of the editing mode of Edpuzzle. Now we're going to talk about the question types and thinking really, having really critical thinking skills when it comes to what kind of questions we want to put into this to make it a purposeful lesson. So if all you're asking for is recalling, if the video tells them a piece of information and all you're asking is pretty much what did the video say, students are not diving deep into critical thinking skills. If all you're asking is one question stem of what if this happened or what if this happened, so that is a critical thinking skill, asking beyond the video. But if you're only asking like what if this, what if this, what if this, then it's only really triggering one part of that brain. We really want to get a whole brain lesson into this video lesson. So I'm going to show you a few question sets, and I'm going to prepare you now. In the chat, I'm going to ask about which one you want to utilize or you already are utilizing. So I'm going to show you some different question sets, some different prompts, and in the chat, please feel free to choose your favorite one or choose one that you want to start utilizing or you're already utilizing in your everyday life, in your videos, or maybe in your classroom. Maybe you're already utilizing them. So let's dive in. So one of our first sets is evidence. How do we know what's true or false? So you're not only asking if something's true or false, but you're asking for evidence behind it. And then what evidence helps us prove our point? So that's one question set that promotes critical thinking skills. But just remember, vary the question set. So we might add an evidence question, but we also might put viewpoints in. How might this look if we viewed it from a different perspective? How would it look different from someone else's perspective? So I know when I taught 2nd grade, there was a standard about fairy tales and looking at point of view. And so I would always bring in, the 3 little pigs and then, the big bad wolf side of the story, stuff like that. So thinking about it this way, thinking about viewpoints. Connections. Have we seen something like this before? So just like the video that we were editing, and I referenced back to the map keys that we talked about in my class, maybe the day before, we are referencing beyond the video. How is this similar to? So having them compare it maybe to something you did with a read aloud the day before or the week before. And I know A lot of standards spiral, meaning that a lot of the standards build upon themselves grade to grade. So second and third grade, they might have some similar standards, but it builds upon. So making connections maybe to even last year what they learned as well. Conjecture, what if it was different? So you're asking about similarities, you're asking about differences. Relevance, why does it matter? And that's a big one for students. That really dives deeper into the evaluating and analyzing. So they're really analyzing here about why am I learning this? Why does it matter? Why does multiplication matter? Why does division matter? So it's one of those where they're really diving deeper into the why. So like I said at the beginning in the chat, hopefully you're listing your favorite question type, or maybe you're already using some of these and you're just list out which ones you're utilizing already. Personally, my favorite is the evidence question because it hits the TEKS alignment, the ELA strand 2. And I believe it's the letter F one of citing, making inferences and citing the evidence. So asking if how do you know if this is true, or how do you know if this is false, or asking for them to go back and find text evidence in order to support an opinion. So personally, I like that because it brings a little bit more personality into the questions with my students. It made my students think about what they thought, but then proving it with text evidence. All right, while you guys are finishing up in the chat with your question sets, I want to dive into the critical thinking questions. The types of questions you ask in your learning environment can take a video from being a short-term memory to a long-term academic learning. And here you have a powerful tool in your toolbox with visual representation through video. Students love video. So let's harness that tool by making sure questions we put into the video are worthwhile, purposeful, and engaging. So sometimes in order to figure out what question to ask, we need to take a step back and start backwards and think about what kind of answer do we want. So let's start with a simple thought first. Is the question closed or is the question open? Closed questions result in one-word answers. Yes, no, true, false. It doesn't dive deep. It doesn't give the student thought-provoking reasoning behind the one-word response. Open questions require an explanation. So you may start by asking, well, what about this? And they may start with yes, no, true, or false, but then you ask why. So turning that closed question into an open question. But like I said, sometimes it's best to think about what kind of answer you want and then build the question from there. Another type of question to think about is the and what else. So what we call all questions, push their thinking to the next level. So you could start with a simple question such as, have you ever seen a volcano in Texas? Which is a closed question, and hopefully they answer no. Then you could ask an all question, and what else question, and say, why do you think we'll never see a volcano in Texas? And then you could reference that ring of fire where Texas was nowhere near that strand of volcanoes on the Earth's map. And so with this AWE, this all way of thinking, we're going to jump into one of my favorite teaching pedagogies, which is Bloom's taxonomy. So Bloom's taxonomy, if you are unfamiliar with it, I highly recommend thinking about this with your everyday practice. So here we have the bottom three, which is remember, understand, and apply. Those are your lower level thinking skills. Those are memorization. Those are just like memorization, recall, retell. The top three, analyze, evaluate, create, are what makes students think outside of the screen or outside of the paper. And it is breaking down the concepts, it's forming the opinion, based off of the evidence that they have, creating beyond the information that was given to them. So the bottom three may look like what happened after, what was the main idea, and what examples can you find, versus the top three, which is discuss pros and cons, what choice would you have made, or invent a new ending. So personally, whenever I was writing questions at the end of the day, and one of those struggles I had was time and energy at the end of the day of creating new material, I would have a copy of some Bloom taxonomy question stems at my desk, because I would take a question and then I would try to make it a higher order thinking skill and really work more with that. So the last tip I have for critical thinking is to always end the video with a bang. Just like Bloom's question stems we just talked about, think about how you can get students to think outside of the video that they just watched. And so back to the volcanoes, we might pop in a note at the end that says, write at least one question that you have about volcanoes now. It takes it beyond the video and makes them think about what kind of question they would have, or a question that is at the top of Bloom's taxonomy, which is create, was if you could find if you could place a volcano anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? So that takes that video and it applies it outside of what they just learned and has them form an opinion and create and analyze and evaluate. So at the end, it is always great to end kind of like with a you do. So have them create or analyze or evaluate something beyond the video, and it brings it back in. And another quick tip is to also always ask for feedback. How do you think the video was? Or did you think the video was hard? Do you think the video was easy? What questions do you have about the video? That can always help guide your differentiation as well. So wrapping this up real quick, I want to thank you all for joining us today. I truly appreciate your engagement and your willingness to learn. I just want to make a quick little plug here. If you are interested in learning more about Edpuzzle, you guys have your own courses here that you can take for Edpuzzle Beginner and Edpuzzle Intermediate. If you are looking for coach and trainer, that is on the Edpuzzle website under your account settings. You're able to go in and choose courses to go into our coach course. But like I said, you guys, Amanda has beautifully created a beginner and intermediate course for you guys. And I'll let Amanda take it over from here.
Thanks, Kelly. Oh, lost my voice there. I got the mic on though. Yeah, just a real quick note on those two. We've had so much interest in SciFair that if you go to those CFPGS or My Learning course numbers, it'll actually take you to the Edpuzzle platform. So you'll still get that same micro credential, but it's just set up to pass that credit back very easily. So thank you, Kelly. We had a lot of great comments, no questions. So I'm going to go ahead and share the information for our next sessions coming up. So after this, we have 2 more sessions, and you can choose from either channel A, which is where we're sitting right now, is in this link. And we're going to have Cami talking about more than just an annotation tool. And then in channel B, so if you go back to that EdTech Live webpage, you can go over to channel B and learn about empowering learning by mastering formative assessments with Promethean panels. So both great sessions. And if y'all have any last minute questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'll be checking back to see if there's anything we need to wrap this up. But with that, I'm going to say we're good and go ahead and start the commercial for between the sessions.
Welcome to EdTech Live. We are happy that you are here. I'm Ryan, and this is Tamara.
We'd like to take a moment to welcome you to today's event and give you a little information about what to expect.
New sessions start each hour, and you can stay for the whole event or just watch the sessions that you're interested in seeing. There is a 10 to 15 minute break between each session where you can enter your attendance credit or take care of personal needs. During the live event, You also have 2 sessions to choose from each hour. After the live event, you can watch any of the other sessions on your own time.
During each session, the host will give you a link and a secret code to jot down. This will be the link that you use to access the attendance forms, and you will enter the code into the form. You can keep this form open throughout the event in a separate tab because you'll have to do this for each session. You can still earn attendance credit even if you're watching after the live event. However, you must submit by midnight tomorrow.
Within an hour of submitting your attendance, you should be receiving a response receipt. If you do not receive this email, please resubmit the attendance form and double check to ensure that your email is typed correctly.
We, along with the entire EdTech team, would like to thank you for joining us today and enjoy your session. It will be starting soon.
Clearing your cookies and cache is easy. All you need to do is click on the 3 dots, scroll down and click on Settings. On the left, you're going to look for Privacy and Security. Click on that and then clear your browsing data. Once you open it, you can just click on your cookies and cache, then clear.
Here's a tiny tech tip for your Google Slides. You can now easily insert GIFs into your presentation. Go to Insert, Images, and you'll see that new feature. On the right-hand side, you can search for your terms and look at all the fun options you have to place into your presentations. Have fun GIFing!
Welcome to EdTech Live. We are happy that you are here. I'm Ryan, and this is Tamara.
We'd like to take a moment to welcome you to today's event and give you a little information about what to expect.
New sessions start each hour, and you can stay for the whole event or just watch the sessions that you're interested in seeing. There is a 10 to 15 minute break between each session where you can enter your attendance credit or take care of personal needs. During the live event, you also have 2 sessions to choose from each hour. After the live event, you can watch any of the other sessions on your own time.
During each session, the host will give you a link and a secret code to jot down. This will be the link that you use to access the attendance forms, and you will enter the code into the form. You can keep this form open throughout the event in a separate tab because you'll have to do this for each session. You can still earn attendance credit even if you're watching after the live event. However, you must submit by midnight tomorrow.
Within an hour of submitting your attendance, you should be receiving a response receipt. If you do not receive this email, please resubmit the attendance form and double check to ensure that your email is typed correctly.
We, along with the entire EdTech team, would like to thank you for joining us today and enjoy your session. It will be starting soon. Welcome to our next session, which is Cami, more than an annotation tool. I hope you knew that. And if you didn't, you will learn so much more than you thought was possible with Cami. Joining us today is Belsa Rios. Welcome.
Hi, welcome. Good morning. Thank you so much.
And in the background, we also have Dane. He will be monitoring the chat and answering all those amazing questions. So please participate in the chat, ask those questions. And Belsa, it's all yours. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited today to show you that Cami can be more than just an annotation tool. I'm especially hoping that we do have some veteran Cami teachers on here so that you guys can see all the new things that Cami has to offer. Now, in the background today, helping me is my colleague and one of my favorite coworkers. His name is Dane Maslin, and he is our Chief Information Security Officer. He's actually here in the state of Texas, joining us all the way from Auckland, New Zealand, because he works at our headquarters. So he'll be helping me today manning the chat. And so if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. So a little bit about ourselves. So prior to joining Cami, I was an 8th through 12th social studies teacher, just a couple of hours south of Cypher in the Rio Grande Valley. I did this for 15 years prior to joining Cami, and I just in January completed my 2nd year. Dane has worked for a number of security companies and different telco companies throughout New Zealand, and he just completed his 1st year with us as our Chief Information Security Officer in November. And as he likes to say, he's in security, so he'll always be in the background. But yep, any questions that you guys have, please feel free to share with us. And we are just happy to be sharing Cami with you. So in the chat in a little bit, you guys are going to be getting a link to today's notes and agenda. So you should be able to see my screen, and on my screen, you should see EdTech Live, February the 24th, Cami, more than just an annotation tool. Now, what you guys are going to get here is quite a bit of information. So the first thing that you guys are going to see is that you actually have access at Cypher, by the way, because Cypher has a district-wide license. So that means every teacher, every student has access to Cami. So you don't have to worry like, oh, do we have it? Do we not? Everybody has it, which is great. The next thing you're going to see is down on the bottom, you have the two people that work most closely with Cypher, which is myself, Belsa J. Rios, and you have my email. And believe it or not, you guys can email me anytime. I am readily available to help answer any Cami questions that you are having. But what I love is just being able to work one-on-one with the teachers and say, hey, how can I camify this assignment? Down below, you have the amazing Dr. Carrie Kennedy. So if you ever have any questions as well for her, you can always email her and she's always happy to help. So one of us will probably be replying to y'all's emails if you don't want to reach out, or if you're like, yeah, I want to reach out to them, or you want to reach out to your own IT team, you have a whole team that's going to help you out regardless. All right, so we are going to get started. So if you don't have your Cami link, don't worry, that will be put in the chat shortly. But let me show you just the quick and easiest way to share Cami if you haven't already started sharing Cami with your students or your staff, because this also works for administrators. If you look up at your top right-hand corner on any Cami document, you are going to see your share icon. So it looks like a little sideways V. When you click on that icon, you're going to have your Google sharing options. So a couple of things that you always want to ask yourself when you're in this document. Or in this portion of the document. The first part that you want to ask yourself is, are we working individually today, or are we doing this as a group? So because these are your notes that you're going to be able to click on, that you're going to be able to write on, and that you're going to keep for yourself, I've created an individual copy. The next question that you always want to ask yourself is, do my students and staff really need all the tools? So again, these are your notes to mark up as much as you want to make more than just annotations on. I am leaving all the tools on for you, including those that are our support features. Now, once you've answered these two questions, there's two ways for you to share this. I'm just going to copy this link and drop it right into our Zoom chat. And I'm more than sure that it will be shared with you as well shortly. The second way, if you have your cell phone or a tablet or an iPad and you're like, I don't think I want to wait for that link, it's not a big deal because every Cami document has its own QR code. So you don't have to go and create one. You don't have to go and look for a website that will create one for you. Every Cami document comes with its own unique QR code. So you can just scan this and it'll drop you right into our document. So these are just two fun, quick, easy ways that you can share Cami. Again, you always want to ask yourself, are we a group today or are we going individual? So you guys are going individual for your notes. All right. So once you've joined into our notes, there's a couple of things that I want to point out for you that you're going to find very useful. So if you were wondering about those tools, like how does you turn them on and off, you want to look at this second bullet point right here, which is feature controls. That's what we call turning on and off our tools. If you want to look at where can I find all these amazing documents and templates, that would be your dashboard. And again, our Cami library just has over 2,000 free templates that you guys can use and mix and match with your worksheets. Down below where we click on Cami, you are going to have all the notes for today's webinar. Now, these are, again, straight for you. We won't read these to you. We know that at some point, somebody taught you how to read and you guys are going to be good on your own for that. So that is right here on our Cami link. And the most important link of the day is going to be this one on the top right-hand corner, where we have our collaborative activity, where you're going to learn how Cami is more than just an annotation tool. So if you've got your notes and you're ready to go ahead and click on Collaborative Activity. When you do, it's going to drop you in right into our next activity. Now, if you start to notice that you don't have any of the tools, please don't worry. There is a very good reason for that, and I'll share it in a minute. But again, you want to go from your notes, which are right here, right into your collaborative activity, which will then drop you in here with myself and Dane when he joins in just a sec. All right. Now, same thing with this document. If I wanted to share it out with you guys quickly, what I can do is just go ahead and click on Share Document. And this one has also gone individual. My bad on that one. Let me switch it up to Editor. That way we are all in here as a group. I'm going to go ahead and copy this link. Let me make sure my tools are off. And I am going to drop this link into the chat. That way you guys can start joining. And I see some of you in here already. Oh my God, this is so exciting. So if you're wondering how the heck does she know we're in here? If you look down here at the bottom, we have what I love to call our collaborative corner. So normally think of yourself in the classroom, brick and mortar. You have got all your students. You've shared out your Canva link, but now what do you have to do? You have to go walk up and down your rows, kind of look over your kiddos, make sure they're in there, make sure they're right on the right tab, make sure they click the right link. So instead of doing that, all you have to do is come into our collaborative corner and you can see who has joined and who hasn't, which is really, really great. So again, if you don't see any tools on your end, there is a reason for that. You don't have to worry. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is give you some instructions, not a lot, because we also want to have fun with our activity. So you got a couple of pages here. We've got 3 that says good things. Let's put something positive on this page. So in a little bit, each of you is going to get access to the text box, just the text box. Now, I don't want you to use it in the traditional manner. So what do I mean by that? So traditionally, a text box is you click on it, you click on the page. Good things, let's put something positive. At Chick-fil-A for breakfast. As you can tell, I like to eat. At Chick-fil-A, for breakfast. Right? That is my positive thing of the morning, because normally by the time I realize I need to eat breakfast, breakfast is over at Chick-fil-A because it ends at 10:30. So this is your traditional way. I used my keyboard. What do I mean you're going to use it in a non-traditional way? This is what I mean. We're going to click on our text box. We're going to click anywhere inside of our page. And instead of typing with our keyboard, you will use voice typing. So you are going to click on the microphone. Tell me what is your positive thing of the morning. As I said, my positive thing is I had Chick-fil-A for breakfast. And Dane is laughing at me in the background, even though he had Chick-fil-A breakfast with me too. Now, once you are done, you want to turn that off. Okay. So you speak your positive thing of the morning, off, and it comes off. And then, of course, you can correct it with your keyboard and mouse. Okay. So let me go ahead and go into my share document. Let me go ahead and turn on the select tool and the text box. But remember, we are using our text box in our non-traditional way, which is by using our voice typing. And then again, I can move this, make it a little bit smaller, adjust the font so that you are given more space for typing. And again, there are 3 pages that you can use. So you can fill in page 1, page 2, or page 3, whichever one you choose. So I will give you guys about a minute and let me know what your positive thing of the morning or of your Saturday is. So I can see that you guys have started typing in. Now I'm going to start whispering because that microphone is very sensitive. It'll pick up if I get loud and you guys have it turned on, it'll actually pick up what I'm saying. So how can this be useful in your classroom? Well, guess what? Testing season is among us in this great state of Texas. And the first round of testing usually starts with TELPAS, which is our language acquisition exam. So if you wanted to see what your students are saying, you literally want to see what they're saying, have them use voice typing and they can use the keyboard then afterwards to correct themselves. Oh, I love how somebody put Cami with a C. Oh, but that's because that's the way it'll spell it with voice typing. I got my coffee and I'm learning here. Y'all are coffee people. I cannot. You know, my parents drink coffee for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and every snack in between. I love the smell of it and I still can't get into it. I got to snuggle my cat. Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. My cup of espresso. Oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure whoever this is very much awake. Now, as we continue on and learning somebody got Starbies. So let me let y'all know that in the Valley, Starbies is kind of going out of style because we've got a new company coming in and they're actually also from Oregon and that's Dutch Bros. So apparently that's the new trend. Again, not really a coffee person, but Dutch Bros and Starbies seem to be the rivals here in the Valley. Now, if you're wondering, like me, I'm like, who had an espresso this morning? Because that's pretty cool. You can just hover over the comment and I'm going to hover over and then I can see that this was BM and I'm like, who is that? Now, normally as a teacher, you'd probably be like, oh, that is Beatriz Mendoza. So you quickly would know who your students are. But I'm just really glad that you guys are joining us, that you guys are dropping in your positivity. I love whoever's like, I'm in my PJs and having coffee. Imagine if we could teach like this every day in our PJs and just like a little cup of coffee, maybe like a little snack. Wouldn't that be like the ideal teacher life, right? So you guys are awesome this morning. Thank you so much for joining me in the positive ways to start the morning. Now, if you're thinking that I'm a little chipper, again, I had Chick-fil-A, so again, makes me happy. But I love the fact that you guys are joining in. I hope that you guys used your non-traditional text box. Now, if you're a little bit scared to use it, don't worry. I completely understand. I'm going to actually show you another non-traditional way to use this. And that is that you can actually change the language that you're using. So if you speak Spanish like I do, Spanish is my first language, I can actually use voice typing in Spanish. So I'm going to show you first, then you guys will follow. Okay. So I do, you do, we do. We're still, the teacher's still there in me. So in order for you to change your language settings, step number 1, look for your initials on the top right-hand corner. So here are my initials, right? When I click on them, so that's step number 1, click on your initials. Step number 2, let's look for our settings. So third from the bottom up, that is our settings. I'm going to click on those. It's going to open up a completely new tab. And about halfway down, I have my speech to text language. Now, if Spanish, like me, is your first language, then we would go to Español México. However, if Spanish is not your first language and maybe French is, then you click on French and you are going to do voice typing in French. But maybe Portuguese Brazil is your first language, or maybe it's the one you're learning and you want to practice. Go ahead and put Portuguese. So whichever language you want to try, by all means, if we have it on here, please try it. So you click on the language. Now here is the pro tip. You leave your settings open because we have to come back to them anyway. When you go back into our positive document, click refresh. And the reason you have to do this is the document has to know there's been a change. So now let me do my voice typing in Spanish. Again, remember we turn on our microphone. Algo positivo que pasó hoy en la mañana es que comí o desayuné Chick-fil-A. Now, it might not have picked the Chick-fil-A because that was in English, but what I wanted to show you is in Spanish, a couple of things. We have more letters in our alphabet than we do in English. So in the Spanish alphabet, we also have the ñ, like in mañana, but our words also have accents on certain letters like pasó, because our O is sounding like a vowel instead of a consonant, we've got the little accent. Same thing in comí and desayuné. But there's two words in Spanish that have many other letters that we don't normally see in English, and that is when you say penguin and stork. So, oh yeah. So by the way, fun fact, the first word that Dane learned in Spanish was pingüino. And he can say it, and he can say little penguin, which is pingüinito. Pingüino y cigüeña. So penguin and stork, the reason that I wanted to show you these two in particular is just because of the different Spanish letters that they have. So both pingüino and cigüeña have the U with the dots, which is the diéresis, and cigüeña also has the ñ. So it does pick it up. So if somebody knows French, I would love to see it because French uses the apostrophes. So I would love to see it. Oh, wow. Very good. I love it. Now, you're like, I wonder what she says that Belsa really loves it. Let me show you what you can do. You're like, I have no clue what this comment says. None whatsoever. All you have to do is highlight it. Come over to Google Translate, which I love app smashing with Google Translate. And all I have to do is go from Spanish. Let me see if it'll do it to English. If not, I can quickly switch it. Oh, it didn't. But if it doesn't, then you just go to extension options. I'm going to choose my primary language as English because I had it as Spanish. I'm going to save that. Now, when I grab this again, highlight, copy it, and then, or just highlight it and use Google Translate, I now have it in English. So Beatriz let us know that she thinks this new tool is awesome. And I love that we can change the language accordingly to the needs of teachers and our students. So yay. So if you did not know that we could do that, let me show you one more time how to switch that language over. Step number 1, find your initials, top right-hand corner. Step number 2, find your settings. Let me click these up. Step number 3, find your speech to text language and switch this because your default, by the way, will always be English United States. So here's where you would have to switch it over to a different language, whichever one you choose. And then step number 4 is when you go back into you. Oh, somebody used the French. Yay. Sorry, get distracted. Step number 4 is you come back into the document, hit refresh so that it knows that it's picked up a new setting. Awesome, awesome. Oh, wow. So I don't know what this person is saying. So I'm going to grab their document. Oh, thank you for adjusting, by the way. I'm going to grab it, go to Google Translate. It says, thank you very much. It's very interesting. I speak English and I speak Spanish too. Oh, look at that. Oh, amazing. I love it. I've always wanted to see it in French because of the different way. This little right here, this part right here, where it adds the apostrophes. This is the part that gets a lot of people because there's not a lot of tools that pick up the accents the way you would need it for both Spanish and French. So yay, I love that I got to see that. Yay, thank you so much. All right. I know, poor Dean in the background. He's like, oh God, this girl is too chipper for me. So we've got our text box. So you probably didn't think that you were going to be using your voice. You're like, oh, it's a text box. Like I'm just going to type. No, 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 no. You will use your voice typing. So you know those IEPs that you get at the beginning of the year? If you need one that says transcribing, guess what? You don't need to sit there as a teacher or a teacher aide or an assistant or a tutor and transcribe yourself. The students just make sure that they're able to click on the microphone, if not click on the microphone for them, and it'll start transcribing. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing all the good things. Now, I'm going to show you, since we've got a third one kind of open on this side, I'm going to have you now create a video. I know. So I'm going to leave the text box as is. So this is why I didn't turn on the tool beforehand, because if I had, then you guys would have jumped in and like not listened to instructions. So either Spanish, French, English, or whichever language is of your choice. This is what's going to happen. In a little bit, I'm going to switch tools. And what you're going to notice on your end is these tools switch in real time. So as soon as I turn off the text box and turn on the add media, you are going to have the option of the camera. But even inside the camera, I'm only going to give you one option, which is record video. When you hit record video, you're also going to hit start recording. You're going to tell me in your recording your positive thing of the day. You're going to finish and drop the video in here. And then resize so that we can all kind of fit our video into our positive thing of the morning or day or week, if you like. So you have your instructions. Again, I'm going to turn off the text box. So let me do that right now. Your text box will now be turned off. I am now going to go to add media, but I don't have to turn these all on. I don't know if you guys saw that. I only am going to turn on the video recording. And because I know I only want this one, it knows that it has to choose the camera because that's where it's at. And it knows that it has to choose add media. So I now have turned off the text box, have turned on the add media. Another just teacher tip, always make sure that you scroll and remember to hit this OK button down at the bottom because that is what's going to switch the tool. So what you should see now on your page is your select tool. Your text box is gone. You now have add media. And then in the add media, you should have your camera. And on your camera, you should only have record. Then you start recording. Tell me your positive thing of the morning. At Chick-fil-A for breakfast. Yay, me. Drop in my video, and I already put in 2. So I'm going to delete that one. So now it's your turn. Drop in your video and let me know what is your positive thing of the morning, day, or week. So hopefully you guys are getting to record your video. Now, the reason I wanted to show you this is not because there isn't other websites or apps or extensions that do this, but what I love is one, how easily I can switch them on and off. Even when you are doing this individually, you can switch those tools off and on, sorry. But also just how it's all staying on one page, one platform, and I'm not having to worry about having to grab another extension, having to add another link, having to look for another app or another program. It's all very simple, one platform, not having to worry about different ones. Now, if you're a little bit camera shy because you're like, goodness, I'm still in my PJs, then don't worry about the video. It's cool. We don't have to worry. We're actually going to move on a little bit because it, got a lot more tools to show you guys. So if you scroll down with me, what you're going to see is another template that I just pulled from our Cami library. And if you're wondering, by the way, just sidetrack, where is the Cami library? Whenever you are in any Cami document and you want to go to the Cami library or your dashboard, just hit on the word Cami, top left-hand corner. So we were on the top right in a little bit. Now we're going to go top left. And right here is your amazing Cami library. Now, I was on this document, so I'll just hop right back in with you guys. And we are looking at the tree of life. So now what I'm going to do, because I want you guys to follow along with the different tools that we have, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open them all up. Okay, so you guys are going to have free reign to all of them. You can go crazy with them. Have fun with them. Love it. And I'm going to hit OK. That way you guys can have those tools as well. Now, remember that we also have, oh, yay, somebody put some videos. Love it. I'm going to show you, first of all, two tools that I absolutely love that any student, regardless of need, can use. So the first one is our integrated dictionary. So before, if the student, for example, did not know what the word oxygen meant, you would have to open up another tab and go to either dictionary.com or put define oxygen. And then hope that Google or whichever website you were using gave them a student-friendly definition, because then they're still going to be asking you, what? So what Cami has done is you or your students can click on our dictionary, click on the word oxygen, make sure we're in English, and then you have your definition. Now, I need to double check on one thing right here.
Oxygen.
There we go. If you want it read to you, you also have that option.
Oxygen. A colorless, odorless reactive gas, the chemical element of atomic number 8 and the life-supporting component of the air.
I did not know it was atomic number 8. I do now. Now, you did see that when I first started with my dictionary, it was actually in Spanish. That's because we can create a bilingual dictionary. So earlier I had somebody write a Spanish sentence. Thank you. So staying with my dictionary, I'm going to click on the word herramienta. Now, because this is a Spanish word, I'm not going to have an English definition, but I can go to Español and I now have the definition. Now, if I want it properly read to me, because this is probably what it sounds like now.
Herramienta.
Not even remotely close to the word. I need to change my read out loud. So instead of default, I am now going to type in Spanish. And just like in our voice selection, we have Español México, Español España, and then Español Estados Unidos. And you can preview what this sounds like.
Hola, ¿cómo estás hoy?
Bien. So now I'm going to go back to my dictionary. I'm going to click on the exact same word, but look at the difference.
Herramienta. Instrumento, generalmente de hierro o acero, que sirve para hacer o reparar algo y que se usa con las manos.
So in our dictionary, we have three options. you can choose English, Spanish, English US, English UK, and Spanish. So that's where our dictionary stops, and we do apologize that it is so limited. We are looking at constantly adding languages to this. One of the ones that we are thinking of adding is French. Now, in our read out loud, when you change the voice, the limits are almost, I don't want to say unlimited, but the ones that we would probably not have are your dialects. But anything else, so if I go to French, we have French Canadian and we have French France. And then you can also, if you go into our help articles, we even show you how to add more voice packs if you need them. So this is Google French.
Bonjour, comment allez-vous?
And then I can have this read to me.
Je ne peux parler français, ça va bien.
It sounds so pretty, doesn't it? And then I think we had another one over here.
Merci beaucoup, c'est très intéressant. Je parle anglais et je parle espagnol aussi.
I have no clue what it said, but it sounded so pretty, didn't it? I love that you guys. Oh, right, attendance. So I'm going to take a little break right here. We've got comments and questions in the chat for you. Thank you so much for those. And I am now going to share with you your attendance page. So while you guys play around with the dictionary and the read out loud, I'm going to look for the attendance page, which is right here. I am going to use our presentation mode so you can see it. And then Dean is going to share the attendance link, which will take you to this page, by the way, and you will be able to log in for attendance with the code that you see here on the screen. So again, the link will be shared shortly. You have the code on the screen. And again, any questions or comments, please let us know. Okay, so hopefully you guys were able to log in. If not, we do have the Cami link in the chat for you, which is going to show you, let me grab something over here, which is going to let you get your attendance for today. So I am in Cami's presentation mode, so let me show you how I got there. So this is our attendance for today. And because I wanted to go presentation mode, so this is something you could do on your Promethean boards, you can just go to menu, presentation mode, and it makes it basically full screen. So you can do this with all Cami documents, which I absolutely love. And you have access to some of our amazing Cami tools, like a laser pointer so that I can highlight that this is the attendance code here. If you're in district, this is your bit.ly. If you're out, you would be the visitor. You can use our drawing tool, our markup tool, eraser, and comment and exit out. So there is your attendance. Thank you so much for reminding me of that. Believe it or not, when I was a teacher, I would constantly get paged over the intercom and it'd be like, Ms. Rios, can you please post your second period attendance? And I'd be like, yes. Even though I would tell my students to remind me every day, we would forget together. All right. So I love that you guys have hopefully played around a little bit with the dictionary, being able to switch between the languages. So we did French a little while ago, which was really, really cool. You guys have seen English. So if I wanted just to go back to my default, I would hit my default voice, or if I wanted to see a little bit more. So you guys have Promethean boards. So let me tell you something about the Promethean boards. If you look at English, but you look at English UK, I can't remember. I think it's this one. Let me see.
Hello, how are you today?
On the Promethean boards, if you hit English UK female, if you guys have seen the movie Resident Evil, the English UK voice, I promise you, sounds just like Alice from Resident Evil. I was so freaked out the first time I did it on the Promethean board when we were in London, but then afterwards I was like, oh, this is so much fun. But we are not in the UK, so I need to look for my regular English.
Hello, how are you today?
Cool. Now, one thing I hopefully, as you guys read through the Tree of Life, one thing I wanted you to notice is when you are in the change voice, you actually have two more options at the bottom. So normally, if your students are using the read out loud, so you are able to lower this and preview it.
Hello, how are you today?
And you can also turn up the pitch.
Hello, how are you today?
Ooh, that was a little too pitchy. Or lower it.
Hello, how are you today?
We'll leave it at 1. And then look as it's highlighting what you are reading.
Trees are an important part of our planet. They provide oxygen for us to breathe, give us shade, and create homes for many animals.
So again, these are options that are there for your students. Now, if you think sounds too robotic and you're like, I would rather read it to my students, because I know that there are some teachers that are going to put in the time and the effort. And that's probably going to be most of us, honestly. You can actually go to your comment tool. So instead of having the read out loud option for your student, you can have the comment tool, use the voice, and you can actually read this. Trees are an important part of our planet. They provide oxygen for us to breathe, give us shade, and create homes for many animals. So you can read this to your students. Imagine how much better your students would feel if they are able to listen to you versus listening to the computer. And you can actually read this. Trees are an important part of our planet. They provide oxygen. So it's completely up to you, the teacher, how you want to provide these different accommodations or the differentiation for your student. Do you want it to be done with a computer? Because sometimes we really don't have the time, but you also can be there for your students as a voice comment or a video comment. I know some teachers that absolutely love creating videos, either because they use different props or puppets. So this is another great way for you to do that for your students. So I could do this for the questions. I could use my video tool and I can explain to my beautiful children what they're going to do. I can let them know for question 1, you will be using your video camera to answer the questions. What are some things that trees provide for us? So not only will you be reading the question to your students, but your students can then use the exact same comment that you did to reply to you. So remember when I told you we were using our text box in an untraditional way? You can also use the other tools that we have to create untraditional answers, because you see this and normally a teacher would go, oh, we can print this and they can use a pen or pencil. Or we can put this on Cami and they can use the text box. But imagine the creativity behind your students if you gave them access to something other than the text box. So think about this. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to think. If I were to come in, which I am, by the way, just FYI, if I were to come into my control features and I turn off my text comment and I turn off my text box, and that's it. How would you answer the questions? So I'm going to delete this one, and I want each of you to take a question, whether that's question 1, 2, 3, 4, or any of them, and answer the question without using a text comment or the text box. So how would you answer one of these questions? So 1, you have to go back and read. Sorry. Or have Cami read it to you. You decide. And then 2, pick a way to answer one of these questions without using your text box or your text comment. Oh, you do? Oh. Do you see the comments and questions there?
So there's no time frame, so I have no idea what they're talking about.
Okay.
So she's posted the chat link. I'm not figuring at all about trying to figure it out. I'm not. Ashes and today all this.
All right, so somebody already used our add media tool. So what happens to a tree in spring? Somebody used our add media to drop in a picture. That is absolutely amazing. Love it. But again, it's you as a teacher just letting your students have a bit of freedom or choices. So give your students the choice to use their voice however they choose to, whether that's adding media, whether that is using a voice or video comment, whether that is using the text box, but using it with voice typing instead of a traditional text box. It is completely up to you, the teacher, how you choose to give your students the ability to reply to an assignment. And again, they will always have access to the dictionary and the read out loud. And if this document were in a different language, they are able to switch out those languages. So I'm so glad that you guys are able to figure out new ways to use Kami in your classroom. All right, so let's continue on. Oh, see, somebody used our text comment box. Love it. I absolutely, again, just love the way that you guys are figuring these tools out so that you can then be able to show this to your students. So you are learning as students today so that you can go back into the classroom and teach your students. So hopefully I have some really, really good math teachers with us. Everything okay? Okay. So hopefully we have some really, really good math teachers today, because in our Kami library, we now have worksheets for one-step equations, two-step equations, and other things of the math variety. So here we have x greater than 10. So believe it or not, I don't know what grade level this was in, but I'm currently 39 years old, and the only way I can remember what way I'm supposed to shade is I always remember that the alligator eats the bigger number. So that greater than, I just remember my teacher telling me, think of it as the alligator and it wants to eat the bigger portion. So in this, we would read the equation x greater than 10. So you can ask your students, by the way, to read this to you, because you want to make sure that they understand, hey, this is how the equation should be read. So we have a question and it says, can we upload any picture of a poem and interact with it? You can. Now, here is the trick, Elizabeth. Whenever you upload any image, any JPEG, PNG, there's something you have to do. You have to run text recognition. So where would you find that? So do you remember when we went to our settings in our initials? Right next to our settings in the is a menu. That menu, your second option, is text recognition. So any picture that you upload, so you took a picture of a poem and you upload it. Now, normally Kami would do this on its own. You would get a little box right here that says, do you want to run text recognition? That is because it recognizes that it's an image and not a live document. So if you run text recognition, which is optical character recognition, it turns any document into a live document, and you can then interact with it. Thank you so much. That's a great question. So I love that somebody already highlighted the answer. Thank the good Lord, because I was like, is it 11 or above? Yes, it is 11 or above, because the way I remember, don't laugh. The way I remember is that the greater than, and then you had to have the little line at the bottom for it to also be the 10. I was terrible at math. So I'm going to tell you this true story and then we will stop. When I was in 10th grade, we taught geometry. So all of you know in 10th grade geometry. So whoever put letters and numbers together, terrible idea. And to this day, I want you to know, in geometry, I learned tangent, cotangent, and sine, cot. To this day, in my 39 years of living, I have yet to use it after geometry in 10th grade. So when they would say, oh, you're going to use this in the future, that has not happened yet. But in 10th grade, I passed geometry because my teacher was going to marry my sister, and my sister said, if she does not pass geometry, there will be no wedding. They're now married and have a beautiful child. So hence I passed geometry with a 70. I was like, dude, you could at least given me a 72 and be discreet about it, but no. So we are at the time. Poor Tamara, she's like, oh my goodness, this girl. So we are at the top of the hour, and I want to give you guys a little bit of time to continue playing with Cami tools, finding amazing and new templates for you to try out on Monday. Maybe you're going to try the one-step inequalities. You're like, hey, my kids need to learn this. They might need it in the future. Who knows? So I'm going to leave the rest of the time open for questions, thoughts, or ideas, and just let me know what you guys thought. And I hope that you guys had an amazing time. I know I did. I know Dane did, because I can hear him laughing in the background. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
And thank you very much as well for having us be here. And you're cracking me up. So I think I have an answer for you as to why they've combined numbers and letters in math. It's because there's not enough math. There's not enough numbers. So they needed a few extra letters to add to it.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, because there's not enough numbers out there. So they needed to add a few letters.
I love Beatrice. She's like, I have not found X or Y.
Well, you should not be looking for your X's. You should just be looking for Y. Okay, so she fell out of her chair. Oh my gosh.
That is a good advice. Good advice of the morning. What did you learn? You should not look for your X's.
Just for your Y. Okay, and on that note, if I could get you to stop sharing there, my dear. Thank you for being with us here today.
Loved it.
Now, I'm sure that you stayed for all 3 of our sessions because they were just amazing. But now you're like, well, what about the other 3 sessions that I didn't get to see? You're probably wondering how to watch those. Well, as it happens, this live stream is going to come to an end in just a few minutes. And at that point, you're going to be able to click on the different links for all the other sessions. And even, of course, you're going to want to watch Why There's Letters with Math and Cami. You can watch that again too, because, well, that's going to be super amazing to do that twice.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me take a moment and show you how you can navigate this world of viewing the different sessions that are available to you. So the first thing you're going to do, if you haven't already done so, is to go to cfisd.net/edtechlive. And when you do that, you'll be back on our homepage where you've probably spent a little bit of today. And our February 24th sessions are today's sessions. Now, you'll notice that if you've been here earlier, I've now changed them from the time period to the topics. And when you click on any one of these, you can click on the image and it will take you to what's going to be the actual video link to that particular session. Right now, it's still linked to the live, but give me a hot second to change them and update them. So at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, it's going to change over. Give me about 5 to 10 minutes to switch them over. And then you'll be able to watch the sessions as you choose. Please make sure that you submit before tomorrow night, midnight, so you can get PD credit if that is what you're looking for. Now, we can't end without telling you what else we're doing amazing in Sci-Fair. We have the Student EdTech Expo in our district. So if you're a Sci-Fair teacher and you're doing stuff in your classes, which I know you are, and a lot of it is amazing, have your kids submit for the Student EdTech Expo to kind of showcase what amazing technology that you're using in the classroom and how you're using it. That'll be April 11th. So that you can invite your kids to participate and you can go check it out as well. It's open to the community to check out. The other thing that I would like to share with you, of course, we're not done with our stuff that we do in the district. Some of the stuff we do is a big conference. The date for that next one is July 24th and 25th. That's our digital learning conference. And just like EdTech Live, it's open to anybody that's out here right now with us in district and out of district, and you'll get PD credit for that as well. So again, thank you, Belsa, for joining us for Cami. And I invite you to be watching some of our other sessions all through the next weekend. Of course, it'll be on demand for you to view that as well. But in order for you to get PD credit, you must submit by midnight tomorrow night. So thank you again for being with us today. It was an absolute pleasure spending the Saturday morning with you.
Thank you so much. And we will actually already submitted proposals. And as far as I know, we are set and Cami will return for the DLC. So I hope to see you guys in July again.
It wouldn't be DLC without Cami. That rhymed. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.